It's a new time, a new place. But these guys have done this before.
I had no idea we were going to draft Blaine Gabbert. Did your jaw just drop?
Yeah, it did. Did you sense the silence? I doubt Gene Smith was on Twitter.
I don't know. You never know, man. Gene Smith might have a couple burner accounts out there.
You look at these media guys. These are the weakest people on earth.
Why do I think he's talking to me and not 6'6", 245 Austen Lane
Brent, are you listening right now?
It's Austen Lane.
You're taking away my comfort food in the most uncomfortable year of all time.
It's Brent Martineau.
We call it a Minshew Monday here on Action Sports Shacks. But those are more crapshoot picks, man. I mean, you can get Telvin Smith and you can get, oh, yeah.
From Jacksonville to wherever you stream, watch, and listen. Welcome to the Brent and Austin Show.
We've made it almost to the end of the week. Here we go on a Thursday of Brent and Austin, week number 1. I like the shirts. Again.
Oh, yeah, man,
It's like I first look
Showing
over
out.
at you right when we start the show, and I'm trying to figure this thing out.
You haven't seen these shirts before?
Why am I not getting these shirts? Actually, I think I have seen that shirt.
Okay.
Or maybe I just saw the logo and not a shirt.
Yeah.
Why are people not sending me these shirts?
Brent, what can I say, man? I mean, people are sending you the 3/4 zips, and all that good stuff. I'm getting the real stuff, the real Jacksonville Duval stuff.
That's good
it's
stuff.
got Limp Bizkit, it's got Shad Conrad and the big orange dinosaur, it's got Jackson DeVille, it's got Trevor Lawrence, it's got the landing, it's got like those lions, which I'm not really sure where the lions are from. I mean, I'm a Jacksonville resident, but there's like lions. I mean, it's like downtown, I think.
Is it like the animal lions?
I mean, no, they're like statues.
Oh, could it be the Bridge of Lions in St. Augustine?
There we go. Yeah, that could be it. I don't know.
Or the zoo.
Probably the zoo, something like that. Yeah, man.
We'll see. I like it.
But yeah,
This
like,
came out. This was born last year, obviously.
This was last year. Yeah, it's like the most Jacksonville shirt of all time.
I like the shirt.
And I'm proud to rep it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep.
Very good shirt.
And you seem to be doing some military
Military
snow training.
Appreciation Day?
Well, snow sniper something with that get up you got going on.
Hey,
there.
listen, Friday fits her tomorrow. Okay?
Oh, okay, I got you.
We'll save it for another day. You know what I was just thinking? It's the Super Bowl.
It is.
It's a Super Bowl that's like days away. And am I missing it? Are we too busy with excitement of starting a show? Are we too busy with things going on locally?
Yeah.
Are we just ignoring it because the Jags are, the Jags, and I'm not excited about this game yet. Why not?
I mean, I think you have a lot more on your plate than I do. Like, I'm pretty excited
You
for
are?
this game. Yeah, I
Okay,
am.
that's what I wanted to know.
Because, I mean, I think you have the way that this is shaken out here. I mean, you have two great coaches, two offensive-minded coaches, a quarterback who's obviously the best in the league right now, in my opinion, and you have a quarterback who kind of lucked in, if you will, to be a starting quarterback, and now, Mr. Irrelevant becomes Mr. Irrelevant on the biggest stage of all professional sports. So I think there's a lot of storylines here that you can gravitate towards, and obviously if you're more of the pop culture fan, then you got the Taylor Swift stuff as well, but there's a lot of storylines here that you can kind of sink your teeth into. It's just a matter of, if you're interested in that, Brent.
Yeah, I think there are always storylines. I think a little bit of the problem with the Chiefs, which makes them a little bit boring, and we ran into this with the Patriots, is we know the storylines. Like, what's the education on the storylines of Mahomes and Reed and Kelsey? Obviously, Swift has been talked about, so we know that. I think like the guy getting a little more love this week that it feels like, and deservedly so, is Isaiah Pacheco, because I think he's one of the most underrated parts of the machine that is the Chiefs right now. I don't know if their defense still is getting enough attention, Spagnuolo and company, but the Niners obviously are. Purdy's a nice Super Bowl story. It's a cool Super Bowl story. I've said it's the ultimate I'm going to Disney World story. Like, that's where that was probably born from, right? Before guys were making $50 million a year and they could own Disney World. That was a cool trip. Yeah. And Purdy still is making like $700,000, which living in San Fran, a trip to Disneyland or Disney World for free is kind of a nice benefit.
It's not a bad gig.
Right?
It's not a bad gig.
I just don't I don't know if we know enough about these teams. San Francisco has been around for years as well, even though they haven't gone to the Super Bowl since the last time against the Chiefs. I don't know if maybe it's just not a freshness here. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out why it's like what's buzzing. It's not like there's any controversy. I mean, Vegas and the Sphere are stealing the show a little bit.
Yeah. Would you see that guy got busted for climbing the Sphere or something?
I did, yeah.
To me, one of the biggest stories going on the Super Bowl that no one's really talking. I mean, like if you watch the media day and stuff, people are talking about it. But this 49ers defense, because if we think back the past maybe 4 or 5 years when San Francisco's been pretty good, their defense has kind of always been their identity, right? Playing solid defense, stopping the run, being decent in the pass game. That hasn't been the case this year for San Francisco. Yeah. Now, I did some little research here and looked up some stats. So just because their offense is so explosive, they have faced the least amount of runs of any NFL team this year in the regular season, the 49ers. Now, guess what? They're like 31st when it comes to stopping the run.
Yeah, yards per carry is not good.
And that got a little exposed so far in this playoff run that they've had against the Packers and also the Lions. So, I'm very curious to see when you have a defense that isn't playing its best football right now going against, obviously, Andy Reid and the offensive genius that he is. How does Andy Reid plan to expose this 49ers defense? And are we going to see an absolute track meet, an absolute shootout in terms of quarterbacks being showcased, but also running backs being showcased as well?
Well, I think you just said it, man. I think the Chiefs are, way better. I just think they're a better defense than the 49ers.
No, that's agreeable, absolutely.
And the name recognition is not there outside of Chris Jones, and Snead's making a name for himself, and the linebackers have a little bit of name recognition. You can't name 7 guys on that defense. I mean, unless you watch a lot of the Chiefs. I'm just saying, casual fan. You can name all these guys. These guys are stud guys that have been really good players. But even when they came to Jacksonville, I remember the storyline. Now, this was before they put a whooping on the Jags, but the storyline was they are more name than game at this point in the season. Now, they had gone through a stretch where they had lost 3 in a row, but the defense was not, like Bosa at that time, I think had 3 sacks at that point of the season when the Jags played them, which was past the halfway point or right around the halfway point of the season. So with all that talent up front, which they obviously have a lot of talent, a lot of name recognition, it looked like they were getting a little bit older. I thought the word on the street was they were losing a step. And even if you look at that back, I mean, Tayshaun Gibson's been playing for a dozen years.
Still doing
and he's really done a good job.
Yeah.
I do think this really comes back to the offense of the Niners because the offense of the Niners controls everything most of the time. And even if you look at these playoffs for the Niners, they've gotten behind. The defense has not been able to set the tempo, set the tone, especially if Purdy got off to a rocky start, which he kind of has in the first 2 playoff games.
But if anything, these playoffs have showed me is that the 49ers can actually play and come back from behind. Because
that's true.
Well, that was my biggest question going into the playoffs is, I feel like the 49ers are a team that's built to run the football, short passes here, get some stuff with motion with Deebo Samuel. Every once in a while, he maybe go deep to a George Kittle or Brandon Ayuk. But to me, they're actually a little more conservative in how they handle their offense. Now, they're explosive, obviously, because they have the athletes to do that, but they're a little more conservative. So, like, for instance, when the Lions went up like they did, I'm like, well, there's no way that San Francisco can come back and beat the Lions now because they're behind by so much. But wow, was I wrong there? Obviously, San Francisco did their thing. So to me, it shows if you want to get in a track meet with the 49ers, they can do that. If you want to slow things down with Pacheco a little bit and maybe pound the rock a little more, the 49ers can do that as well. So to me, this is going to be a game where, like I said, I think it could be a track meet, and that's what people want to see. People want to see touchdowns. People want to see a lot of points, and I think you have 2 offenses here that are capable of doing that.
Yeah, I think you're right. First of all, it's a crazy thing has been the Niners have changed their identity in a way, or at least the ability to check a box that they have really not been able to check. Shanahan has not been able to check. I mean, the guy was like 0 for 30 or something when he trailed in the fourth quarter. In the last 2 wins, they've really turned it on at the tail end of the third quarter or in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's been pretty remarkable where all of a sudden you're like, okay, game's over. And now you're like, maybe that's a better spot to be in for them. They feel more comfortable. They open it up. They let it go. I mean, I really think Shanahan has been out-coached for much of the postseason. But then they find it. And it showcases, I think, they have talent to just flip it on. But this time around, I don't know if they can afford to do it. And I think everybody would say it doesn't matter who you're playing, because can you afford to do that in the Super Bowl? The spotlight's so big. The tension gets even bigger. I don't think they can afford to do that for a variety of reasons because of the stage, but I think they also can't afford to do that because, well, the Chiefs are the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and yes, we have been praising the Chiefs' defense a lot. They've been put on a pedestal, as they should, but keep in mind, the Chiefs' defense, if they are vulnerable in one spot, you could argue it is the run game. In the playoffs, you took up all the playoff teams. Only the Packers and Steelers were worse against the run in terms of playoff teams this year, right? So when you have the best running back in the NFL in Christian McCaffrey, or arguably, but I would say best running back in the NFL.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You start running the ball a little bit, that opens things up for, once again, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, or Deebo Samuel. So, like I said, I'm expecting a lot of points this game.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
So we got two coaches who are both praised individually for how they prepare. It's the whole don't give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare. But Shanahan's the same deal. Do either of you think that those 2 weeks to prepare benefits one head coach more than the other?
See, to me, I have to go Andy Reid with this one just because, he kind of put, the extra week of preparation on the map in terms of, a coach who goes above and beyond. I'm not sure what Andy Reid's record is now in terms of when he has another week to prepare for a team.
Good.
But it's ridiculous. I think a couple years ago it was even I want to say he was 12-1 or 12-0, whatever the case may be. So yeah, when you give Andy Reid time to prepare, it's trouble. But yes, to tackle your sentiments though, even with Kyle Shanahan, I feel kind of Shanahan's it's kind of the same MO a little bit.
Honestly, I don't think, I just shared this. I don't think Shanahan is in the same stratosphere as Andy Reid as a head coach. In case these guys know this, I have a problem a little bit with Shanahan, but I have a built-in problem.
Please share.
The problem with Shanahan for me, just to educate you guys on where I stand on this, is that he's known as this offensive guy, and he's been very good. Obviously, he comes from a great tree with his dad and all this stuff. I'm not saying he's an awful coach. I just think he gets way too many flowers for what he does for a guy that obviously made some pretty bad decisions in the Super Bowl, lost a 28-3 lead, helped lose that lead. It wasn't just him. Dan Quinn and the defense did too, but there were some pivotal plays that he lost. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is they go to San Francisco and they built this really good team from a roster standpoint. They have a good squad. They don't want Jimmy Garoppolo anymore, even though he got him to the Super Bowl. They go trade everything for Trey Lance, and they're flat out wrong. And even though they got the best blessing in the world last year because Garoppolo they couldn't trade because of the shoulder injury, even though they wanted to, they bench Lance early in the season. Garoppolo saves their season after an 0-2 start, I think it was. Mm-hmm. He gets hurt, and now they get Mr. Irrelevant to jump in there and be better than anybody in the world thought that he'd be. I really think he just got lucky in this spot. As great as everybody says he is, I think he misidentified quarterbacks for a couple of years in a row. Garoppolo would have been better than Lance in that situation. And now Purdy's here to save the day and rescue him. And to his credit, they get a lot out of Purdy, but he also has more weapons to work with than anybody else in the National Football League from a play caller standpoint. We know that.
Yeah, but you still have to be a quarterback at the end of the day. You still have to, control the game, if you want to call him a game manager. So let me ask you this then. With Jimmy Garoppolo, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo had his best years with Kyle Shanahan as his, coach? Because what is Jimmy Garoppolo doing now?
Yeah, I do. Because he got a chance. Yeah, when he was in New England, he never really got that chance or anything like that.
Yeah, but also now, I'm saying.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah, he didn't have a good year.
Yeah.
But is that Josh McDaniels or is that Shanahan? I don't know.
Well, I would say that the development, and I get it, Trey Lance, they missed on completely. Now, do injuries can kind of play a role in that? You can make an argument for it, right? Trey Lance didn't have necessarily the best of luck when it came to injuries and getting tossed in the fire right away. So that could be a correlation there. But I think what I've seen in terms of quarterback play from Kyle Shanahan, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, if you want to go back to Matt Ryan, I think Matt Ryan played some of his best football when Kyle Shanahan was there. Well, if we talk about a guy who's developing the quarterback position and getting the best out of his players, I would argue and say that's a pretty dang good coach.
Yeah, who wouldn't be a good quarterback playing for the San Francisco 49ers right now, though? I think they could put Sam Darnold in there and he'd be doing a pretty good job.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is that Shanahan? Is that setting him up for success, or is it just that you've got McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and everybody else.
Keep in mind, Brock Purdy didn't have McCaffrey last year. Or did he have it? No, he didn't have him last year.
No, he stayed healthy last year.
McCaffrey?
Sure.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, he didn't have Kittle a lot.
Didn't have Kittle.
Right, he was in and out.
Okay.
Listen, again, this isn't me saying he's the worst coach in the world. I just think he gets a lot of flowers, and I can't get it. They got so lucky with the way the quarterback situation was managed. They got lucky. I mean, how often do you trade up to go get your franchise quarterback and the guy plays like 3 games for you? You trade him away and you end up in the Super Bowl a couple years later. Now,
but
that's roster building.
Yeah, but do you think if Brock Purdy wouldn't have been as good as he was, Trey Lance would be like? It was pretty obvious, Brent. Like you saw the run that Brock Purdy went on, a la maybe a little bit Tom Brady when Drew Bledsoe got hurt. You saw what Brock Purdy was capable of, and it's like, well, why do we need Trey Lance anymore?
I think you think it had to do with Brock Purdy, or do you think it had to do with Trey Lance's play?
I think it had to do a little bit with both.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, go back and look at Brock Purdy's numbers. Like, once again, as Mr. Irrelevant, as a rookie quarterback, it's hard to deny the guy was talented.
Yeah, but they did not put Purdy in after Lance got hurt or after they yanked him out early last year. They put Garoppolo in.
No, for sure. Because more experience trying to, bring Purdy along. Exactly. But I'm saying when Purdy got his shot, what happened?
Yeah, he's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, he really has. I think he gets way too much credit. I think now listen, he's going to really get credit when they win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win it.
Yeah.
I think they're just a better football team. I think I say that with some confidence, but I mean, I think they are. Listen, he's good. They're good. I think Lynch and what they've done, the moves have been incredible. I mean, it's hard to build a roster that they've built. Now, I thought Philly, though, had the best roster the last couple of years, depth-wise. Definitely last year. It fell off the table. It looked like they got old, right, in Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia is a thing of the past, it seems like. And that was a roster going into this year that started 10-1, and that was really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think the Niners are flirting on that cusp as well, by the way, because they've got a lot of older players. We mentioned Gibson, some of their interior line on the defensive side of things. I mean, heck, Trent Williams still playing great ball. He's an older guy now. So they've got this balance between old and new, but that old gets old in a hurry in the NFL. And I think Philadelphia kind of found that out because they were a little long in the tooth in spots, especially on defense, and it faded. I think they got a little fatigued on that older, grizzled veteran offensive line, and they couldn't do what they had been doing. And injuries add up to that and show some leaks. But I think that point being, I think Reed has such an advantage here. I've seen Dan Campbell and Matt LaFleur, at least it feels like they've outcoached San Francisco for a lot of those football games the last couple of weeks. If those guys did it, I really feel like Andy Reid's going to do it in this game.
Well, okay, when you say outcoached, do you mean just obviously the 49ers defense has been lackadaisical at times in the first half? So, I mean, outcoached the defense.
Outcoached, outplayed, whatever, take
Yeah.
advantage of things. I mean, have a team ready. I don't know, like, where does that fall? I know it's a lot of players' game, and I always put it on the players.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, whatever buttons you're supposed to push, the Niners have not played great football. Now, if he pushes the right ones here, they really might dominate this game. Like that has not. They can be a very dominant football team. To your point, you started this with the reason why they're bad against the run, or at least teams don't. Well, that's not the reason why they're bad against the run, but teams don't get a chance to run against them is because they're usually up by like 2-3 touchdowns.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean it's you got to give up on the run, and it plays right into their hands. Then Bosa goes to work, and other guys go to work. So they are that talented. Are they about as talented as a football team as? Or really, minus the quarterback position from a talent standpoint only, they feel about as talented a football team as I can remember. I mean, all the Patriots teams, the talented one was the one where they lost the Super Bowl when they had Randy Moss and Gronk and Brady and all those other guys.
Yeah.
And they had talent. They didn't have talent like this. I'm not even sure the Chiefs have had this kind of talent the last few years during this run.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, yeah, obviously top running back, top 5 tight end easily in the NFL. Where do you put the receivers, though? Because,
I think Ayuk's really good.
Okay, but, is he even a true one on a lot of teams?
Probably not, no. I don't even know if he's in a one on this team.
Okay, so then what is that saying? Okay, so you have the Debo at 1. I mean, it's kind of like 1A, 1B, right?
It is.
It seems like sometimes.
And the crazy thing, and I guess this is where you get in the minutia of it, is that their versatility gives them stuff that like nobody else can do because Debo's a unicorn.
Yes.
Right? So he alone, and we saw that when he went out of that game, I think that was the Green Bay game, they seemed to struggle, right?
Yep.
But how they have a complement of receivers, actually, that kind of reminds you of not a dominant guy, but it reminds you of like Doug Peterson's Philadelphia Eagle team. They didn't have a dominant guy, but they had a lot of nice pieces.
Yeah.
Which I think shows you don't need the number one guy all the time. If you go back, we've done this study before, if you go back and look at number one wide receivers, now this started to change a little bit over the last few years, but go back to like 2015 and look in the last 20, 25 years. Number one wide receivers weren't getting you to a Super Bowl or winning championships. And I think what teams have done, and they're kind of going back to that well. So, okay, you have Jamar Chase, awesome. But if you don't, you can have three good weapons that can win it.
Yeah.
Right? And a nice verse. Like the Jags tried to do that. They tried to do that with the Kirks, the Zay Jones, the complement of those guys, and then you add in Ridley there because it gives you some different skill sets, and people have to figure it out. It's nice puzzle pieces instead of let's just throw this guy the ball.
No, without a doubt. To me, though, it's just – let me ask you this, Brent. Would you take the skill position? This is quarterback aside, obviously, but the skill position. Are you taking the Chiefs or the 49ers? And obviously skills counting
on offense?
On offense. And we're counting the tight end position as well, included in this.
I'm taking the Niners all day.
Taking the Niners all day. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I probably would too as well. But
I mean, who do they have? I mean, they got Pacheco and okay, McCaffrey's better than Pacheco, and Kelsey is better than Kittle.
Far better than. I mean, I think far better than Kittle.
All right,
but I mean,
I'll take Kittle.
They're in the Super Bowl for a reason.
I get it.
A lot of it has to do with Kelsey.
But I mean, then there's not a. I'd take Rice has done a nice job, but I'm not taking any. I'll take all the receivers before I take Rice.
Okay.
Well, not all. Jennings probably not. But.
Okay. Yeah. So you think? I mean, obviously the plus of the wide receivers from San Francisco that outnumbers the Travis Kelce effect with Kansas City.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
And their offensive line's better overall.
True.
I mean, not that Kansas City's offensive line is bad,
but once again, just skill positions in general. I'm not talking about offensive line.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would take them all day.
Austin, whose weapons are you taking over the 49ers?
Just in terms of the NFL?
The entire league.
I mean, you got to give me Miami. See, this is like a wide receiver question to me. So if everybody's healthy on the same level, I'm taking Miami. I'm definitely taking Cincinnati. I think the receivers are better. If everyone's healthy, I'm definitely taking the Rams.
Interesting.
Rams are interesting.
You wouldn't take Puka and a healthy Cooper Kupp over Debo and Brandon Ayuk?
That's where the receivers come.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
because of McCaffrey, I'm taking 49ers every time over the Rams.
No, I mean, if you put the running back into it, then yeah, you have an argument there. But I'm just talking just receivers right now is what I'm doing. Like top wide receiver cores.
Yeah.
I would probably take the Eagles. Eagles.
Yeah, the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's where Debo comes in. I think, again, we saw it. Debo does stuff that none of those guys do. And he gives them options, and he gives them a chess piece. And here's the deal. They've got two chess pieces that nobody else in the league has. That's really the difference between San Fran. Mm-hmm. They've got McCaffrey, who they line up in these goofy sets to start. Nobody else does. Factor. Mm-hmm. And so does Debo, though. Debo does stuff that nobody else does. They have two unicorns on offense.
Yeah. Like, do we almost say three unicorns? Because Kyle Georgi, I'm going to butcher his name.
Yeah, they play the fullback too.
But he's out in the slot sometimes. Juszczyk, there you go. Thank you very much. He's everywhere as well. And even Christian McCaffrey alluded to just how big of a pivotal role that Juszczyk's played in the run so far.
All right, let's take a break. We're just getting going here on a Thursday, getting closer and closer to Super Bowl 58. You can watch it on CBS 47, of course, this weekend. We'll be back. Brent and Austin just getting going here. And thanks for hanging out with us later this week. Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you, so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
Start your morning right. Start your morning right.
A new day, a new traffic headache. But Action News Jack's traffic expert, Maritza Ross, is here to guide all kinds of daily drivers, like the traffic dodgers,
Don't worry, I'm going to get you around this mess on I-95.
the side street seekers,
Now you can exit early on 17 due
the
to...
last-minute leavers.
If you're getting a late start this morning, here are your fastest routes.
So let Maritza save you time on Action News Jax this morning.
Start your morning right.
I like to say everybody has a story, and sometimes we are a part of other people's stories. That's the case here at Nimnicht Buick GMC. My family and the Nimnicht family. We've purchased 6 different vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. Maybe you're in the market for a truck. Well, let me tell you about the GMC Sierra. I absolutely love mine. I've had a couple of these. This one's a 2020, but right now on 2024 GMC Sierras here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, there's special financing. A year ago, we purchased a GMC Terrain for the kids. Financing rates as low as 1.9% right now for eligible buyers on Terrains and Acadias too. Looking for used instead of new? Buy a used car with the Car Bravo program. Nimnicht Buick GMC certifies all makes and models. Let the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville take care of you and your family. Come on out and see the showroom, meet the fantastic people, or shop online at nimnichtbuickgmc.com. Nimnicht, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
I've been forecasting the weather for a long time, and no matter where I go, I always get asked the same question.
Hey, Mike, what's the weather gonna be like?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, hey, what's the weather going to be like?
I don't mind being asked because I always have the answer. Great day for a perfect round of golf. Hey, little rain later today. So go ahead, ask me.
Hey, Mike, I'm heading out. What's the weather like tonight?
It's the same question, even at home.
Mike Burrish, he's got your weather answer on Action News Jax.
Go where all the pros go. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute takes care of athletes at the highest level, like the Jacksonville Jaguars players. They will take care of you, too. Our team covers a lot of teams here in Jacksonville. FSCJ, JU, the Axemen, the Jumbo Shrimp, the Sharks, and, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars. JOI covers all those teams as well. And then there's youth sports. My kids play baseball and softball. And whenever we have an injury question, the first call is to JOI. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute has been serving Jacksonville for 30 years, and they have over 30 specially trained physicians and assistants at 5 locations in the area. If your injury is specific to an area of the body, JOI has a specialist. They also are leaders in robotic surgery, joint replacement, and sports medicine. JOI Rehab has 13 locations and 90 therapists to get you better. Comprehensive care with caring physicians and staff at JOI. From youth sports to high school, college, and the pros, Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. JOI. Go where all the pros go.
When the sun sets and night begins, Action News Jax is working to bring you the big, important stories at 11 you need to know about.
Live in downtown, from Orange Park,
From the south side.
From all over Jacksonville, we keep you informed on local news happening now and get you ready for what's next tomorrow.
Plus, Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish has the area's most accurate forecast to help you plan for the day ahead.
Live at 11, it's worth staying up for CBS 47 Action News Jax.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jax, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jax is always on. Coming soon, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jax 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Hey, welcome back. Brent and Austen here on a Thursday. Super Bowl 58 around the corner. We'll continue to talk about that, including Gronk or Kelsey on the horizon here in just a couple moments. Brent Martineau Austen Lane, Jason Hamby, and week 1 of our new show here at 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. and on social media channels only. Action Sports Jax 24/7 network coming soon. Working toward that later this month. We've got some big things coming up in the sports world, right? Like Super Bowl, but then Daytona next week. And then after that, we've got the Combine, and the new league year starts to take shape around March. What will the Jags do with Josh Allen? What will they do with Calvin Ridley? What other moves will they make? How different does this roster look? Those are going to be some of the focus points. And then March Madness, along with the Players' Championship and free agency in March. So it should be a fun next 5 or 6 weeks to get ready and launch this thing that we're doing here. We appreciate you jumping in and along for the ride. Talking a little bit about Super Bowl 58, which we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about, but the Chiefs and the Niners, in my opinion, this is a little bit of a boring week so far, in part because we know so many things about these teams. I don't think there's a darling here at all, right? I mean, you don't have that. And in sports, we like the darling. We like the underdog. If Green Bay had made it, if Detroit had made it, I think this week would feel so different if Detroit had made it. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. No, without a doubt. I think Detroit was like America's team, it felt like, right? Especially going to take on a juggernaut like the Kansas City Chiefs and all their, hate that they're getting with Taylor Swift and everything. Like, if Detroit would be in it, man, I feel like it would have been a different kind of ball game.
Nathan Dean jumps in early this morning and says, good morning, another day of manifesting extensions for Trevor and Josh and maybe signing T. Higgins.
It's not my money. Let's go.
The interesting part about T. Higgins, I just don't think they're going to let him go. They've got power there with the franchise tag at like $21 million. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you do that and try? I mean, you just extended Burrow. You didn't get to see enough about Burrow. So you're like, let's keep this thing together. We feel like we're pretty close already. Now let's get a year of healthy play. Why would we let him walk out the door?
Well, I mean, I know he's not the happiest in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it,
and
right?
I think he's made some comments in the past. And, yeah, if you franchise tag him, what's that going to do for the locker room? But, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, the guy's a supreme talent. Obviously helps Joe Burrow out a lot. Is a nice 1-2 punch with Jamar Chase. So if I'm Cincinnati, I do everything in my power, even franchise tagging him for a bit. Try to work out a new contract.
So what's the balance there in your opinion from a locker room standpoint? Guy doesn't want to be here maybe. Guy would like to go be a number one guy. Guy would like to be paid. Everybody would like to be paid. But the organization has power. So do you use that power on an unhappy potential player?
He holds he has the power until he holds out. And then it kind of switches. I mean, he doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
Right? But then that kind of causes a distraction to your locker room. I mean, to me, if I'm Cincinnati, if there's another plan in place, then by all means, go do that plan. You know, I mean, I think back of like Stephon Diggs in Minnesota, right? Like when Stephon Diggs went to Buffalo, I was kind of like, what is Minnesota doing right now? You know, I mean, you're losing a high caliber guy and everything. And what happens? Well, you replace him with probably an even better player in Jay Jettis. So if there's a plan in place, then by all means, go with that plan. But if not, your top priority is helping out your quarterback, and T. Higgins helps out a quarterback.
Listen, Nathan says only issue is given signing Higgins probably means we don't bring Calvin back. If they sign, they're certainly not bringing Calvin Ridley back if they sign Higgins. Like, I mean, it's one or the other.
You would take T. Higgins over Calvin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do, but I'll tell you this about Higgins, and I get it. And here's the thing that I like about T more than anything else. Playing with the fact they played with Trevor a little bit doesn't hurt this, but he's a different kind of receiver. He's a big receiver. The Jags really don't have that. They don't have a big guy to go get it. This guy will go get it. Look what he did down the stretch. Remember that catch that he made like in the corner?
Yep.
I mean, that's what he can do. Is he going to do that every time? No, because to start that game, people forget, but he dropped like a wide open pass, like 18 yards down the field. It's like, I guess a lot of people drop passes. It's not just the Jags guys. Because I remember that game specifically for that. I wonder, though, and is this a fair criticism of Higgins, to question whether he can be the one guy? Because you're probably going to have to pay him like the number one guy, $24-25 million, maybe even north of that, which I think is kind of crazy for receivers. I think that's a dangerous thing with how many good receivers there are when you can find a Puka Nacua in the 5th round and he can have that kind of impact. I know not everybody does, but you can find impact receivers in the 2nd round, 3rd round, the draft. It's deep again this year. It's always going to be deep because of the nature of college football now. I question whether he can really take the mantle of a number one guy.
Let me ask you this, though. I mean, and you echoed Puka Nacua. Like, listen, every team wants to find their Puka Nacua, right? Every team wants to get a wide receiver deep in the draft and make that happen. The fact that it happened with Sean McVay is not a coincidence. Look at Cooper Kupp.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
I think some coaches are just better at developing talent and calling a system that's going to fit that player's needs. I mean, the biggest thing with Puka Nacua coming out of college was he's kind of slow, not the best route runner. If you get the ball in his hands, he's a big dude, so he can run over people. But like teams weren't sold on Puka Nacua. Well, guess what? He does exactly what the Rams ask him to do. We don't need you to be a burner. We're not going to throw it, 70 yards down the field. Now, he's had a couple of those, I feel like. But let's give you the ball in space. You lower your shoulder, you do your thing, and get extra yards. I mean, I think he had the most yak yards of any wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken, this year. He had to be top 5. With T. Higgins, to me, it begs the question of, do you feel confident in the draft then? Do you feel confident bringing in a guy from the draft in the 2nd or 3rd round that's going to replace a Calvin Ridley, that could replace T. Higgins? I'm not that confident. So, if that's the question, I think T. Higgins gives you the best chance. Talking about a 6'4", 219-pound wide receiver who can run the deep ball, who can do the jump balls, and then you pair that with a Christian Kirk, pair that with an Evan Ingram. Now you got something with a little bit of everything, right? You have the slot with Christian Kirk. You have obviously the tight end, athletic tight end, Evan Ingram, and then T. Higgins over the top. I'm not mad at that.
I do like that. Listen, I like the idea of being different. We're just talking about that with what San Francisco has. How do you not look at what these other teams have, and you don't just say, I'll take 2 studs. Sometimes it's the puzzle pieces, how they go together. The beauty of what they did in L.A. is McVay basically convinced Snead, we need this guy. I know he doesn't measure up. I know he's not as fast. We need this guy. This is going to work. This is how I'm going to use him. This is what I see. Doug and company, they know that better, right? They know the nuances of Calvin Ridley after being with him for a year. They know if they can increase those or if they're just kind of praying that he gets better on those.
Well, and how much of a telling sign is going to be even with a guy like Brenton Strange, who some would say that you drafted up a lot to get him. We haven't really seen a lot, but his development, I think, is going to say a lot about the GM and the head coach of just how much this year he can come along and, be the guy they expect him to be.
Yeah, so so you have no questions about T. Higgins being the number 1 guy?
No, I mean, I think you bring him in as the number 1 guy, I think he's going to do just fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect him. I just don't know if we know. We don't know. I mean, Jamar Chase is a dude. I mean, it's nice playing next to Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
You get a lot out of that. And then there's always that question when that guy has to go be that. He's not going to be Jamar Chase either way. He's just not. Mm-hmm. Jamar Chase is a different talent, in my opinion. But you're going to pay 20-something. Listen, we have this DK Metcalf. Metcalf, they paid $24-25 million a year for.
Yeah.
Is he that guy? He's freak. I get it.
But are they asking him to be that guy when you have Tyler Lockett? When you have
well, maybe that's the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have to ask that guy, T. Higgins, to be that guy. But do you have to ask him to be that guy if you're paying him $25 million a year?
No, I mean, it justifies it for sure. But as long as that offense is humming, I don't care if he's getting 12 targets a game or 8 targets a game. He's getting over 100 yards and he's contributing. Then so be it. I'll bite that price tag all day. To me, it's crazy how much it kind of reminds me of Stephon Diggs a little bit. Just because he kind of had an attitude in Minnesota, didn't like what was going on, wanted to be traded. He gets traded to Buffalo. Is that really going to be a good fit for Stephon Diggs? So keep in mind, the Stephon Diggs now in Buffalo, even though he kind of had a down year, wasn't the same Stephon Diggs in Minnesota, right? Because you had Adam Thielen, who's arguably maybe the 1 receiver, and Stephon Diggs was more of that deep threat, right? Kind of like T. Higgins maybe a little bit. But what happens to Stephon Diggs? He goes to Buffalo and becomes the true number 1 wide receiver, and he was getting all the targets, all the looks. Now you have Gabe Davis come through a little bit as well. And once again, Stephon Diggs kind of struggled a little bit this year in a few games. But I think you could have the same kind of career that Stephon Diggs had in Buffalo as T. Higgins could have in Jacksonville.
I think there's a couple of interesting things around a guy like Higgins or even the Ridley situation, which got every day it feels like Ridley this, Ridley that. It's an interesting conversation because I can talk you into something, you can talk me into something when it comes to Ridley. Again, they know more. What they know matters the most. What do they know behind the scenes? What do they know where he could go, where he can be? But I think Trevor is important in this conversation. He played with T. Higgins. Does he love playing with Ridley? Does he see it? That feedback? I don't think he's going to throw anybody under the bus, but I do think the feedback of Trevor is important here. And then I think the Jags have something to offer that not a lot of teams have. They have all these conversations coming up. I can see it popping up with Christian Kirk's name. There's so much belief in Christian Kirk, which, by the way, was a hell of a move by Trent Baalke and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know nobody wants to give credit to any good move, but Baalke went and got Kirk and how he's used with Doug and what he's done these 2 years and what they didn't do in his absence proved his worth. But his ability and Evan Ingram's ability, I think over these couple years in Doug's offense, really makes this feel like what is the best puzzle piece when it comes to Ridley, a Zay Jones, a T. Higgins. I know I just put like Zay in that category, but you get what I'm saying. How they want to use these other guys because they know this, Austin.
Yeah.
They've got two guys that they can rely on, and they've got two guys that they think are pretty good, and two guys that will excel. So, and not even counting Travis and everybody else, but I think it's really a puzzle piece for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have got to figure out which slides in the best. And this is really a Doug question more than a Trent question for me. Doug, which piece fits your offense the best?
I mean, listen, going forward, if you want to call, like, say they bring back Calvin Ridley, and let's say we have 1A, 1B at the receiver position with Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, that's fine. But like I'm looking at some of these games from Calvin Ridley, you can't have one reception for 5 yards like he did against the Saints. You can't have 4 receptions for 30 yards like he did against the Colts. You can't have 2 receptions for 38 yards like he did against the Falcons, right? Like you have to be a little more consistent in terms of if you are a 1A or a 1B, whatever you want to call it, receiver, those numbers got to come up.
Yeah, I agree with you. You've got to show up. But go ahead and just for the heck of it, bring up Jamar Chase's number.
All right. Okay, I think he was hurt a lot last year.
Okay, well then bring up somebody else. Diggs we know disappeared a little bit.
I mean, not Tyreek Hill, obviously. You don't want those numbers.
No.
Those numbers would knock your socks. You want Devontae Adams? Is that fair?
Yeah, okay. Okay, go Devontae Adams. And I just want to see the consistency. And again, I would put Devontae Adams ahead of Ridley too, but
would you put the quarterback play in front of?
Well, that's fair.
Yeah. But let's just for the heck of it, you know? Give me a second. Put me in this.
Kirk, by the way, just to reiterate here, Kirk and Ingram, in my opinion, like we're talking about the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm not trying to get crazy with it. San Francisco has a bunch of things, but we call them unicorns, we said, with the guys like McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. Those guys are different. They do things in your offense as a puzzle piece that really nobody else in the NFL seemingly can do, and they've got 2 of them in the same offense. So how do you defend that along with some other good players as well? But the one thing I'm saying here is the Jags have something to offer in that department. The Jags have puzzle pieces already in place in their offense. They've got Kirk who's done it, and you know what he can do. And I think in a slot, he's one of the better players in the National Football League, and he's really good in the red zone in that category. I think Ingram has proven that he is a big part of this. I think ETN is a good part of this. So this is puzzle piece. This isn't, hey, come in and change my offense. This is elevate the offense because you fit into my offense.
So to echo your point a little bit, you're not wrong here, Brent. If you want to go the last 5 games, now keep in mind quarterback play was questionable at best. Last 5 games, they beat Denver, 5 receptions for 46 yards for Adams, 13 receptions for 126 yards, 1 reception for 4 yards, 8 receptions for 101 yards, and 7 receptions for 53 yards. That was the last 5 games.
Okay. Yeah, I think these guys go up and down. I think some of it's because of the defense that covers them. I don't know if like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown might be a good example here. I feel like he's probably more consistent, but at the same time, the way they struggled down the stretch, did he disappear? Was it Jalen Hurts? There's a lot that goes into that. Calvin Ridley was inconsistent. There's no denying that. He was inconsistent. And he really wasn't. It didn't feel like he was as good as he could be or kind of told us he would be or looked like he would be. That's it. I mean, there's no denying that. The question is, can he get to where he almost was or could have been or told us he could be? That's what they've got to decide. But I will say this. You know what you have in Ridley in this offense. You've got to determine if a guy like T. Higgins even becomes available, which I think there's questions on that. I don't think he is actually. How much better does T. Higgins make your offense if you were able to pay him X amount of dollars? The bottom line is Ridley's going to be cheaper too.
No, so this is what I want to ask you then. How much more would you, I mean, assuming you think T. Higgins is better than Calvin Ridley, I think we can all agree on that right now where they're at in their careers.
Especially because you know you can have him for another 5 years. Ridley's clock is ticking now. He's going to be 30.
Yeah. How much more would you pay then for T. Higgins over Calvin Ridley?
Yeah,
we talking $5 million more a year, $4 million more a year?
I would say this. First of all, I think Ridley's like, if I can get him for $16, $17 million, I think I'm in that neighborhood. If he gets up to 20, I'm out. I just don't feel like that's it for him. I do think in this case, if it means I can get like you're going to have to pay to play. You're going to have to pay like $23, $24 million, my guess. a year for a guy like T. Higgins? I don't love that. But I really don't love $27, $28 million. Like, I ain't paying that. I don't care. I'm going to draft somebody. That is not where I'm spending my dollars.
Especially if trying to bring back Josh Allen and eventually sign Trevor Lawrence as well.
I don't think it's worked very well. Like, Devontae Adams hasn't changed the Raiders at $27 million a year.
How much is Tyreek Hill making?
Hill's a different animal. Okay. But again, he's a unicorn.
Sure.
T. Higgins isn't Hill. Yeah. Metcalf for $24, $25 million isn't changing Seattle. Yep. You better change me. I'll tell you this, for Josh Allen for $27 million, he changes the Jaguars. You lose 17.5 sacks, what the hell would they have been? Like, for that kind of money, you have got to change the dynamics of my football team. So you've got to answer that question. We don't even know if T. Higgins can be a number one guy.
Right now, looking up the highest paid wide receivers, Brent. Tyreek Hill coming at $30 million,
and he's worth it.
He's worth it, which is insane.
He's worth it.
Devontae Adams at $28 million.
Yeah, I don't think Devontae's been worth it.
Well, hard to say if you don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball.
I get it, but you're asking a lot. It's hard to meet that expectation.
Yeah.
And Devontae Adams is a brilliant receiver, but it's not like he does stuff that nobody else in the league can do. Yeah. Tyreek Hill does stuff that nobody else in the league can do. Nobody can run that fast. Nobody can move that fast. He changes your offense, your team. All right, let's take a break. We're going to keep talking about this a little bit more. Plus, the debate of Gronk and Kelsey. Is it even a debate of who the best tight end is? Well, let's talk about it. We come back. Brent and Austin here on a Thursday.
If you
Thanks
watch
for hanging
Kelsey
out
in the
with us.
way.
Let's go to break. Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
Start your morning right. Start your morning right.
A new day, a new traffic headache. But Action News Jack's traffic expert, Maritza Ross, is here to guide all kinds of daily drivers, like the traffic dodgers,
Don't worry, I'm going to get you around this mess on I-95.
the side street seekers,
Now, you can exit early on 17 due
the
to...
last-minute leavers.
If you're getting a late start this morning, here are your fastest routes.
So let Maritza save you time on Action News Jax this morning.
Start your morning right.
Navigating to that perfect car can be a daunting task. Trust me, I understand, but if you want to find the perfect blend of sales and service for your automotive needs, look no further than the Tom Bush family of dealerships.
Here at Tom Bush, they do things right. Dating back to 1970, they've been a staple in the community, giving back and keeping everything local. With 4 different brands to choose from, BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, and many, there's a car for every member of the family, and the customer service is second to none. Looking to add an electric vehicle to your fleet? Tom Bush remains at the forefront of new technology with plenty of staff on hand to walk you through the future of driving and help eligible customers file for that EV tax credit.
Whether you're looking for your future driver's first car or you want to step up to luxury and arrive in style, the Tom Bush family of dealerships is the only stop that you need to make.
Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory at tombush.com.
I've been forecasting the weather for a long time, and no matter where I go, I always get asked the same question.
Hey, Mike, what's the weather gonna be like?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, hey, what's the weather going to be like?
I don't mind being asked because I always have the answer. Great day for a perfect round of golf. Hey, little rain later today. So go ahead, ask me.
Hey, Mike. I'm heading out. What's the weather like tonight?
It's the same question, even at home.
Mike Burrish, he's got your weather answer on Action News Jax.
Go where all the pros go. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute takes care of athletes at the highest level, like the Jacksonville Jaguars players.
they will take care of you too.
Our team covers a lot of teams here in Jacksonville: FSCJ, JU, the Axemen, the Jumbo Shrimp, the Sharks, and of course the Jacksonville Jaguars. JOI covers all those teams as well. And then there's youth sports. My kids play baseball and softball, and whenever we have an injury question, the first call is to JOI. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute has been serving Jacksonville for 30 years, and they have over 30 specially trained physicians and assistants at 5 locations in the area. If your injury is specific to an area of the body, JOI has a specialist. They also are leaders in robotic surgery, joint replacement, and sports medicine. JOI Rehab has 13 locations and 90 therapists to get you better. Comprehensive care with caring physicians and staff at JOI. From youth sports to high school, college, and the pros, Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. JOI. Go where all the pros go.
When the sun sets and night begins, Action News Jax is working to bring you the big, important stories at 11 you need to know about.
Live in downtown. From Orange Park.
From the South Side.
From all over Jacksonville, we keep you informed on local news happening now and get you ready for what's next tomorrow.
Plus, Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish has the area's most accurate forecast to help you plan for the day ahead.
Live at 11, it's worth staying up for CBS 47 Action News Jax.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jax, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jax is always on. Coming soon, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jax 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
There's a look at the MEC, the Miller Electric Center. The Jacksonville Jaguars won't be back really in there. Now, some players go in and get their work in, but really until April. I mean, that's the next time when off-season conditioning begins for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane, Jason Hamby here on a Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And the new show this week, right during Super Bowl 58 week out in Las Vegas. Not a ton of excitement out there, but that will ramp up over the next. Well, it might be exciting out there. I'm just saying we don't feel like you feel it all the way to here. The storylines are pretty obvious, and we'll see if anything else surprises us over these next couple of days when it comes to Super Bowl 58. Should be a good game, though. I mean, obviously, we got 2 good football teams. This isn't a mismatch of any kind. If you had the one thing about Cinderella, and I'm not saying the Lions. I don't think the Lions-Chiefs would have been a bad matchup, Austin. I just think you could get to a situation, let's just say the Packers went on a run.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, you could see blowout potential, right? Or something like Kansas City playing them, or maybe San Francisco playing just about anybody else from the AFC, being there for the first time. You just don't feel like the Chiefs are ever going to get blown out.
Well, and just let me say this, for the sake of just my hometown pride and my friends getting in my face nonstop, thank God the Packers didn't make it this year. Because I was the one saying, Jordan Love, hey, you guys are going to have to regress a little bit now, all right? Like, take a back seat. This is how the NFL works. You can't always have a great quarterback. There's going to be some years where you got to take a little bit of a back seat to some teams. Well, no, Jordan Love's the guy, I guess, as well. So go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Congratulations, Packers fans.
I want to stay on this T. Higgins and Calvin Ridley stuff because Hamby just said something that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are like separated by 5 years by birth date. But Ridley's played only 8 games more than Higgins, which really says less about Ridley to me because we know he lost essentially 1.5 to 2 years of his career before coming to the Jags. It says more about Higgins. He's a durable player. And if you're going to spend money, you like that durability, right? I mean, that's the first thing.
That's number one overall, yes. I mean, in terms of injury history, I'm not sure if Higgins really has anything serious. Obviously, he's played in a lot of games, so one would think he doesn't. That's what coaches are always looking for.
Do you want? We've been talking about this for 20 minutes. You want to pay him? You asked me how much I'd pay him. You want to pay him? How does he fit?
I mean, I think he fits great once again. I think if you can keep, obviously, you have Christian Kirk for a couple more years. You have Evan Ingram. I mean, that's going to be a pretty dang good-looking offense, in my opinion. So if I have to pay him an extra, because Kelvin Ridley wants top dollar. So if I got to pay T. Higgins an extra $3 to $4 million a year, yeah, I'm considering it. But now, once again, I got to pay Josh Allen. Got to pay Trevor Lawrence eventually, right? So I got to make sure those books look okay. But if I'm bringing in another guy, it's going to be T. Higgins.
So the best part about this for me, now that you dissect it a little bit more, Trevor's 24 years old, and T is 25 years old. That's like for the next 4 or 5 years, that's your duo. You can really, like, that's what the Burrow and Jamar Chase thing has become. That was good vision on their part. Now, will it get them to the promised land? We'll see. That was really, maybe that was the not so great part of Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Their contracts, their age, their everything else didn't really match. So it was pretty short-lived there, and now still took advantage. But I think that's what the Dolphins have tried to do with, say, the Tua and Waddle matchup, right? Going to get your guy, a young wide receiver. Now Lamar has Zay Flowers for a long time. Like, do you need that guy, that young player on the outside that you continue to grow with? And obviously, again, the T. Higgins connection is already there, which is very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if you can get that guy at the price, Brent, why not? Now I'm not sure how much money, like you said, it's going to be a lot. But, like, do you think T. Higgins wants to be a top 5 paid wide receiver? Probably, I guess, with the market, right?
I mean, listen, everybody wants to.
No, I know, but I'm saying, is it feasible?
I doubt it because, again, if you're starting at $30 million and then you're getting me to $28 million on Devontae Adams and then you're getting me to somewhere else, like, where do his numbers stack up to be able to say, oh, yeah, I'm worth this? There's market value, but then there's also a slot here at the receiver position where you go 28, 29, 30 million. Okay, that's one level, and that's a unicorn level.
Those
then
are two. Yeah, we have two guys there, Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams.
Who's third?
Third is Cooper Kupp, making $26 million a year.
Okay, and then who?
A.J. Brown, making $25.
Okay, so that's the category, probably 26, 25, maybe down to 24, like a DK Metcalf. See, I feel like he's more the DK Metcalf mold in terms of where the young player has accomplished a good amount but hasn't, like, set the world on fire, because Metcalf had accomplished a lot, but he also hadn't, like, he wasn't breaking records as far as I remember. Yeah. So they took a gamble on him with a pretty good chunk of money, so that was the next tier down.
So if you're talking that tier, then the $24 million range, you're talking Stephon Diggs at $24 million, DK Metcalf at $24 million, Deebo Samuel at $23.8, and then Terry McLaurin at $22.7.
Yeah, that's, I think, where this lives.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Agreed.
I think it's somewhere in that $22 to $24 million.
Yes.
Are you willing to go there? That's it. Like, are you willing to go there? That's, and I do like the idea of being again, these guys, I would pay extra just for two things here. The durability part excites me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go 3. The age, or really, age is really part 2, because it's Trevor and T for the next 4 or 5 years together at 24 and 25 years old, entering this next phase of their NFL careers. Like, I like that. Like, that to me is worth extra money. Here's the deal. You bring Ridley back, you really got him for another year, maybe 2. There's no, like, down the road vision on that. That's like a right now vision. So I'd probably pay extra for that. But here's where you really got to figure it out. What's the draft like? Can you go find a 6'4", 220 guy that you think you can get for second round? And obviously the money would be a lot cheaper. Can you trust your evaluation that well? I'll tell you this, Trent Baalke has not been great when it comes to picking wide receivers. And he really hasn't done a lot of it anyway in his career as a GM.
You know, looking at this list real quick, Brent, about wide receivers making their money. Do you remember the outrage that was Christian Kirk getting his contract of $18 million a year?
I do.
Looking back on it now, I mean, you want some guys that are ahead of him right now that are making money? Brandon Cooks is making more money than Christian Kirk right now. Mike Williams making more money than Christian Kirk right now. Chris Godwin, who, is serviceable and has his moments, making more money than Christian Kirk. DJ Moore, obviously, making more money than Christian Kirk. So it's wild how every single year it fluctuates, and the price keeps going up and up and up. And, now all of a sudden that Christian Kirk deal, not so bad.
No, not so bad at all. We're getting some things from Nathan. I think Trevor and Travis could convince T that he's a long-term answer. It is interesting the Clemson connection doesn't matter. We have seen teams and quarterback and wide receiver duos around the league kind of join hands from their college teams. Again, Burrow and Chase come to mind from LSU, but it's not the only one as I remember it too. So there's there's some intrigue in that part of it. The relationships matter. You kind of recruit now, almost out loud these days in the NFL. And Trevor has a voice. I'm not sure Travis's voice is as big, but I think Trevor certainly would have a voice.
I mean, I think there's something to be said too. Like, I'm not sure if they're best friends, but former college teammates, it can work out sometimes. Look no farther than Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that's
I mean, Joe Burrow essentially got on top of the table and said, "I want Jamar Chase here. Draft him." They did, and worked out pretty well.
He was
for him.
right. He was right.
I mean, he was right, but what would Penei Sewell look like? Would you be a little healthier? I mean, it's hard to say, but I think overall he was right, correct.
Yeah, that's a good argument to be had, and one that as that plays out. But I mean, Chase is super dynamic and he's good. It's not like he's a bust at all.
Correct. And meanwhile, the Lions are obviously liking what Penei Sewell can offer their offensive line as well.
And as the GM said yesterday, they were begging for a quarterback at that time, and they got Penei Sewell instead. All right, let's take a timeout. Brent and Austin show. We click to the 11 o'clock hour. We'll talk more about Super Bowl 58. We'll get to that tight end conversation. Got stuck on the T. Higgins Jags wide receiver conversation. That was fun, and still more to come, including checking in with UNF men's basketball coach Matthew Driscoll. They've got a game night tonight at 7 o'clock at UNF Arena, and there's a look at Timuquana Country Club. The Underwood Cup was played there earlier this week. The professionals with the biggest comeback in the history of the event. They've been doing that for 33 years. They won over the amateurs. I like to say everybody has a story, and sometimes we're a part of other people's stories. That's the case here at Nimnicht Buick GMC. My family and the Nimnicht family. We've purchased 6 different vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. Maybe you're in the market for a truck. Well, let me tell you about the GMC Sierra. I absolutely love mine. I've had a couple of these. This one's a 2020, but right now on 2024 GMC Sierras here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, there's special financing. A year ago, we purchased a GMC Terrain for the kids. Financing rates as low as 1.9% right now for eligible buyers on Terrains and Acadias too. Looking for used instead of new? Buy a used car with the Car Bravo program. Nimnicht Buick GMC certifies all makes and models. Let the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville take care of you and your family. Come on out and see the showroom, meet the fantastic people, or shop online at nimnichtbuickgmc.com. Nimnicht, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's never a dull day in Duval. At Action News Jax, we know Jacksonville is so much more than crime stories. That's why we're dedicated to covering every local neighborhood. Real stories told by real people, making a positive impact. Plus, with our fleet of drones, the First Alert Storm Tracker, and our passionate team of reporters,
doing a story about the bad gas that was found here.
You know if it's happening now and in Jacksonville, it's on. Action News Jax. Local coverage you can count on.
The friendliest golf course in town, the Golf Club at Southampton. Local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jax Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jax Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
Thank you for making Action News Jax the best in Jax and Folio's Best of Jax 2023. Best TV station, Best TV newscast, Best TV morning show. Chandler Morgan voted Best TV anchor. The Chief, Mike Burrish, voted Best meteorologist. And Brent Martineau voted Best TV sports anchor. And while you're on the go, Best news website and Best local blog, The Burrish Blog. Thank you for making Action News Jax local coverage you can count on.
It can be daunting to fix or replace your AC unit. We've done it a couple of times, but it's a better experience because of Bold City Heating and Air. We visited boldcityac.com. They did the rest. There are not a lot of Jacksonville-grown and family-owned air conditioning businesses anymore. Bold City Heating and Air is just that, and it feels like it. They will help you navigate the process with first-class service, and they have no payments, no interest for 12 months right now on new systems. $50 off any repairs. Make sure you're safe and comfortable at home, and let Bold City Heating and Air help. boldcityac.com.
I'm Action News Jack's First Alert meteorologist Garrett Beaton. While the sun is up and it's going to be a beautiful day.
Sometimes you just need a day to yourself. And Garrett's First Alert forecast makes sure you're ready to go out and enjoy. Garrett and the Action News Jax This Morning team, helping you start your morning right.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. Right now, you can save $1,000 or more when you bundle the Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 143-2579. Oh, who's going to get the better of Miss Pac-Man today? I didn't play it in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I tried it one more time and it didn't go. I did better than the first time, 7,000 to 10,000. So we're climbing there, Brent.
See that high score?
Yep,
that is mine.
I figured that much.
That's proof of the high score, 105,000. I'm not lying.
And I feel like you can just kind of edit that and put whatever score you want in there.
Well,
but
you
okay,
could
I'm
these
sure there's
days
an app
do that,
for that. But all
there's
right,
an app for that.
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner guitar, by the way.
Yeah, a little flex.
How about that?
Yeah.
Which I like the guitar. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad got a place to put it now.
Mhm.
We get that from our Dream 18 golf tournament.
Okay.
But I'm not a guitar guy. Like, I don't play the guitar.
Yeah.
So this isn't like I'm not at home.
Sure. Yeah, you're not
doing that.
Yeah.
You are.
A little bit.
You brought
been
the
a little
guitar
bit.
in a little.
I brought the
in the
guitar.
past.
Yeah. I wrote a Jeff Okuda song for the Detroit Lions, which really panned out well because he had a great career with them.
Yeah. By the way, there's
Falcons now?
Some people think, that he could come to Jacksonville with Ryan Nielsen.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then break out the guitar
Bring back
again.
the
And now we're talking. Hey, Jags, if you get Jeff Okuda, obviously you got to play Jeff Okuda in terms of, the band Heart.
Ooh,
So
Jeff Okuda.
Jeff Okuda. Yeah.
All right, so give us an idea. I want a little foreshadowing of Shock Your Mock. And also, we'll bring back NBA Slam Poetry. We're talking about that.
Yeah.
But Shock Your Mock, you're thinking a little bit different, right?
Oh, we're getting into this right now. Dropping some news.
Well, just to give a little nugget. So, because
Little
people ask
teaser?
for Shock Your Mock a lot.
As they should, man. I mean, it's going to be a big one this year once again. So in terms of Shock Your Mock, what I'm thinking of, Brent, right, is how can we get the fan base involved a little more,
All
right?
right.
Because in the past, and by the way, Shock Your Mock was literally just born out of me getting sick and tired of people bragging about their mocks that they would post on Twitter.
Yes.
I mean, we get
Constantly
it.
changing
Yeah,
them.
constantly changing them. We get it. Like, yeah, you think you're a GM, and then made some questionable decisions. So then it evolved to Shock Your Mock, where basically what we did was we just roasted people's mocks,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think I might have been nice to people twice.
That's it.
Out of 3 years of
Yeah.
Shock Your Mock, right? So what I envision for it this up and coming year is we make it more of a competition, right? A tournament, a kumite, if you will, if you've seen Bloodsport with John Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And what I say, Brent, is we get brackets. So there could be a celebrity bracket. So maybe our boy Jason Fitz comes on the show.
Very
maybe
good.
Golick Jr. We get him going a little bit, test their Jaguars knowledge. But maybe you get your boy Mike Tannenbaum to really blow this whole thing and embarrass himself once again, And who's the other guy that you're into? Darren Orlovsky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Orlovsky on.
I'm sure. How'd that go?
Very good.
I bet it did. But anyways,
Dan Keats in the city of Orlovsky. We've handed it to him.
So what I envision though is that you take two mocks at the same time, we put them on the board, and we vote which mock we like better. That winning mock then goes on to the tournament, and then eventually we crown one final Shock Your Mock winner with a grand prize and everything. So this year it's not people just putting Grant Delpit 25 times just to tick me off. It's going to have to be a little more skill involved in terms of who you pick for your mock draft.
Yeah, that's good. So we really got to backtrack this thing to the draft based on our bracket and how many people are in the bracket.
Yep.
Is this a 16-team bracket? Is
Sure.
this a college football bracket? Is this an NCAA tournament bracket? We'll figure that stuff out.
I mean, that's your job.
Yeah.
And I just bring the ideas.
And it's
You gotta
coming
put
in
them into
March.
permission.
It's coming in March.
Okay.
My belief of it, because this goes all the way to the draft, is this will start sometime around NCAA tournament time. It'll be perfect for the bracket.
I like that
kind of stuff.
I like that.
So we've got more coming. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane, Jason Hamby on a Thursday here on our new show this week, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Still trying to get used to the schedule a little bit, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Fine. You're doing
I'm
great.
thriving.
You're thriving.
I'm thriving. All right, what's up with you, man? You're just not used to getting up so early? What are you doing?
It's not that I get up early.
Okay.
I usually go for a walk, have 4 coffees, sit at the table, do some work. Now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I balance the coffee intake? How many do I have in a day? When do I contact you guys to see what we want to do for the next day?
Mm-hmm.
We had until 3 o'clock to get ready for the show. So it's just that kind of stuff. I mean, just the mechanics of my body and life.
You have to get your 8 hours of sleep, Brent. That's the most crucial thing.
No, that does not happen.
That is. And speaking of not sleep, Hamby doesn't sleep at all, correct? He doesn't
Hamby's
sleep?
like a morning shift guy.
Okay.
Which is
so
impossible to sleep.
Zero sleep then.
Hamby, give us your schedule. What do you got? How does it work for you? For at least a couple of weeks, because I think his schedule is going to change with this new kind of gig. But
he could be sleeping right now. I'm not sure. Oh, there he is.
What is your schedule like? Hey, look, I'm on behind you right now. No, before.
Gross. Wow.
He was coaching middle school baseball. Yeah. Okay. Let's throw that in there.
What a flex. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm getting word that your mic is not on, according to Olivia. But I can hear you fine.
I can hear you just fine.
How about now?
There we go.
Still the same to me.
So let's recap really quickly.
Real quick.
All right, so I'm in at work at 1. I'm out by 9. I'm sleeping 10 to 4 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go about, I got a lot of stuff to do at night, and then I go straight to work on the back half of my day.
Man.
So I normally wake up, and then it's around dinner time.
That's that vampire shift right there.
That's a tough
That's
one.
that emo Taking Back Sunday.
I was a
kind of
little
shift.
surprised when you told me this, when you had said you go home right after and sleep, because I figured you would sleep all the way up until 12 or 12:30 and do it that way. But you sleep right away, and then you go on with the rest of your day.
Yep.
Eating is hard. You never get used to it. Have you ever worked an overnight shift?
No.
I've worked the overnight shift before.
There's no way.
Back, it was definitely the most I've ever worked in my life was back in summers of college.
Okay.
Or it might have been between high school and college, because I played Legion baseball, which was be like travel ball now, but Legion, that's the old way to do that.
I got you.
And so we'd play at 3 o'clock, 3:30, doubleheaders almost every day in the summer, which was great. It was awesome ball. But about 4 days a week, 3 or 4 days a week, I'd work at a trucking company overnight, midnight to 8.
Oh.
And it was dirty work now. You were in trucks, and in the summer, those trucks were 125 degrees. But the coolest part of that is you drive forklifts and stuff.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not worth it, but still pretty cool.
No, but I mean, and I was filthy, man, when you got out of there.
Yeah.
It was wild. So, but then I had to go 5 days a week I was like one of those camp counselor things at a park.
Oh dear.
Okay.
I would be sleeping in the slide. Like they could do a news story on me now. Like, hey, where's the guy supposed to be watching the kids? He's in the slide sleeping.
Yeah.
But that is an endless cycle. I mean, even if it wasn't, there were a couple of times it would just go boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
Made a lot of money that summer.
I bet.
Made a lot of money. But at the same time, that night shift, you do not get used to it. You just can't. I don't know how everybody still does it. Like, you can do it once in a while, but you just never. I mean, like Don Lopez has been doing that forever here at Action News Jax. Phil Amato, I don't think you get used to it.
Yeah, I think I talked to Chandler Morgan. She was kind of telling me her schedule, like back when she was working like the early shift, and I can't fathom that.
Because what do you do on the weekends when your week's over?
Well, I don't sleep on Fridays. Like I'll take like a 2-hour nap. So if I get off at 9 a.m. on Fridays, I'll go home, take a 2-hour nap, and then stay up the rest of the day so I can sleep Friday night and Saturday night. Sunday I'll have my full day. Normally we have a lot of out-of-town tournaments or whatever, and I just will pull an all-nighter Sunday night into my shift.
Not
Monday.
fun. But he's 20. He's like 23.
Yeah.
I mean, he can handle it. He's fine.
Yeah. You'd be surprised what your body can handle at 23 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's like college.
But you
age.
just start doing that at like 35 and 45.
Oh no, there's no way.
That's power.
I mean,
to
Brent,
you.
what are you averaging these days?
I average more sleep than people think. I mean, I like about 6 hours of sleep.
I don't know if I'm buying it.
No, I do. I mean, like I probably slept even last night. I think I went to bed at like 1 o'clock and woke up at 7:30. So that's like 6.5 hours sleep.
Okay.
So I mean, there are sometimes you don't, but I sleep way more than I think people think I sleep. But there are times where you go a long time. Like here's what I can't do anymore. I'm getting old enough where I can't. I used to be able to go 3 hours, 4 hours, get up, do it, just keep going.
Yeah.
Can't, like if I do that like 3 days in a row, like if we were out to Vegas because you got to wake up early, can't go to bed, right, because of the time change.
Yeah.
You do that 3 or 4 days in a row, I'm like kind of dead.
No, it's
after that.
It's not good for you, man. I'm trying to tell
and
you.
I never used to get tired.
Optimize yourselves. Hamby, get some more sleep. My word.
You're just not supposed to admit it. They never say I'm tired. Like I
That's
hate
a
when I
huge
ask
mental
people how
thing.
you're doing and say I'm tired.
Huge
Like, you
mental
never
thing.
admit you're tired. Don't admit it.
Can't be honest?
No.
Why?
No, because everybody says
Everyone's
they're tired.
I got it. Everyone's tired.
You
It's
gotta
like
suffer in
asking
silence.
It's like everybody thinks they work hard and everybody thinks they're tired.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you do, but I don't really know the barometer of it because everybody thinks they do. Ask somebody if they think they work hard, and I guarantee you they say they think they do.
Okay. I'll ask my son tonight when I see him. Well, not really. I mean, I go to school.
Not him. I mean,
Okay.
of
I got you.
adults.
Well, I don't hang out with a lot of adults.
That's obvious.
It's pretty much you guys, and that's about it.
All right. Hey, I want to get to some comments in the chat. We were talking a lot about T. Higgins and the wide receiver group. And speaking of getting old, I probably could use my glasses right about now. Steve says, right now Higgins is valued at $18.5 million on Spotrac. You give him like $23 million. Here's what I want to know about Spotrac, because I've seen these things, and I think some of the recent valuation on Calvin is 2 years, $32 million. I'd sign him tomorrow if that's the valuation on him.
Is this some kind of like PFF conglomerate?
I feel like
Spotrac?
it is. Like
Okay.
what I would like to know, Steven, and I haven't looked this up, but I would like to know, is how accurate are those? Because I feel like the Spotrac numbers come in lower than where you end up. And these are negotiations. The prices get driven up. Like, did they have Daniel Jones' valuation at $40 million a year is my question.
What I'm trying to
Doubt
find out
it.
right now. Yeah, exactly.
But that's what he got because that's the way the game works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my question when it comes to it. I don't know if the Spotrac estimation or really what they should get is really what people do get.
Correct.
So that's the you'd have to give me a little more research on that part of it, I guess, is where I'm coming from. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane. Hey, let's get to this topic because we have it. And Shannon Sharp was on Pat McAfee and was talking about the tight end position. And you brought this up a little bit. I'm interested to get your reaction because I'm not sure where you sit on it. Here's what Sharp said about great tight ends when it comes to Travis Kelce and Gronk.
If you watch Kelce and the way he moves and you watch the wavelength that he and that Patrick Mahomes have together, man. That's why I got him as for me, he's my GOAT tight end. Because if you look at
a big statement.
That's huge.
But if you and people say, well, Shannon, what about Gronk? Okay, he can match Gronk stat for stat. Playoffs, he can match, and he one-ups him in the regular season. I mean, he puts up numbers like he's a wide receiver. I mean, prior to him, no tight end had more than 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He's put together 6, 7, 8. He was 16 yards away from putting together another 9th 1,000-yard season. And then when he gets to the playoffs, he raises his level.
How many 1,000-yard seasons? You just can't say he had 6, 7, 8, 9. It could have been 10. I don't know. How many touchdowns did Trevor Lawrence throw? He could have had 10, 12, 13. I don't know. Could have been 20. Well, how many was it? Sorry. Go ahead.
Is he the GOAT tight end?
Before we get into this debate, I want to throw one big number. I mean, you can go stats all day, right? And I'm going to give you both stats right now, Brent, okay? Travis Kelce, 159 games played, 11,328 yards receiving, so that's averaging 108 yards per game, 74 touchdowns.
Pretty good.
9-time Pro Bowler, 4 times All-Pro, okay? Rob Gronkowski, 143 games played, okay, well, then they had to screw this up for me. But 9,286 yards receiving, but 92 touchdowns.
Wow.
So,
by the
Trevor,
way, I would think it would be hard to see stats on that index card of a phone as well.
Thank you very much, man. That's all I got right now, so just bear with me, please.
Is that a credit card?
This is literally, this is like
Brent, chill out. I got the mini too.
Yeah, man. What's wrong with the mini? I'm trying to bring minis
Holy
back.
cow.
Trying to bring minis
Did
back.
you guys actually watch something on there?
I want an iPad in my pocket.
Brent, okay. Thank you very much, man. When you have the ham hocks, like I got the ham hocks, I can't just put a big cell phone in there and not break it when I'm wearing my jeans. Okay? So you get a credit card. Enjoy the credit card. Now,
very good.
Back to Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski. The biggest stat for me is touchdowns, Brent. 74 touchdowns compared to 92 touchdowns for Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah. I think the other numbers are pretty strong too.
Okay.
I find it funny that we always go back to numbers, and I get numbers tell part of the story. But if you're watching a football game, right? Give me the one where Ayuk had the big catch. Remember that goofy catch off in the Lions in the NFC Championship?
Yeah.
And I think he ended up with 90-something yards, 3 catches. It was only like 3 catches, 4 catches, but that one buoyed him to a nice day. It was a lucky catch, but it was a great play. It was a big play. And everybody's like, well, yeah, take the 50-something yard play away, and he only had this. I was like, well, yeah, I get it, but that's not how this works. Like, most times when guys have a big day, they have one big breakout play. Maurice Jones-Drew used to do that. He'd have a lot of carries. It wouldn't really go too far, and then, boom, you'd break the barrier, and you'd go. So, but at the same time, I feel like when years go by and when games go by and days go by and now we have these kind of conversations, all we look at is the number.
Well, that's the way it works, though.
I get it, but in the real time, like if we were watching these two play a game on a Sunday,
sure,
and we really just isolated and we were watching these games, we'd be like, okay, you can kind of figure out and feel who played better or look and see who played better, who impacted the game more. But in hindsight, we don't do that. It's the same thing like we're having with Calvin Ridley, right? Ridley, if you look at his impact on football games or how it felt in football games, you don't feel at any time all year you're looking up and be like 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. You really never felt that with him, and that's what we're getting at. That's kind of the back and forth with Ridley. So I just do find it funny that at the end of the day we want to go numbers. And the numbers tell part of the story, no doubt. I mean, longevity, they're pretty equal in a lot of respects. 4 yards, I think, in catches for Kelce, or touchdowns for Gronk.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
more
Austen,
Super Bowls for Gronk too, as well. I mean, if that means anything to you.
Yeah, and we'll see. Well,
I mean, right now we'll see. Yeah.
It's interesting for a player; it doesn't feel like that matters. But for a position player, it doesn't matter. But for a quarterback, it does.
Yeah,
right.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
So. Okay, I respect that. You like the touchdowns, but it's only like 13 more touchdowns, man. You do that, project that over a year. It's like one more touchdown a year.
Well, it's 74 touchdowns compared to 92 touchdowns.
Oh, I thought it was 79 and 92. So 74
and 92.
So 18. So,
18
okay, maybe it's more like 2 touchdowns a year.
Yeah.
Is that big of a separator for you?
I mean, that's like saying to me, if you're trying to look at who a good pass rusher is and you go quarterback sacks, like, yeah, it's not the end-all, be-all stat per se. but we judge how good an edge rusher is based off of quarterback sacks. I judge how good a receiver is based off 2 caveats: touchdowns and yards. And like, yeah, obviously with yards, Kelsey's played in more games now. Has had a lot more. And if to kind of prove your point a little bit, Brent, in terms of like records for Travis Kelce, he has the most seasons with 1,000 yards by a tight end. He has the most consecutive seasons with 1,000 yards receiving by a tight end. And he holds single season records for most receiving yards by a tight end and the most seasons with 100-plus receptions by a tight end with 3. So obviously, in terms of that, yeah, pretty legit. And then he has tallied 8 games in the playoffs so far in his career with 100-plus yards receiving, tying a mark set by the legendary Jerry Rice.
I think both guys were really good in the postseason.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be like, okay, maybe the numbers add up and Kelsey's got more of them. Here's the one thing about Kelce. Longevity wins the day, although the games weren't as different as I thought they would be, but it feels like he's played a lot longer than Gronk, right? Because Gronk was done at like 30 years old, then came back for the one more year. I'm going to simply say this. Numbers fine. I think maybe you're right. Slight advantage toward Gronk. Some people would say Kelce, recency bias toward Kelce, very impactful, maybe a little more love for Brady than Gronk, maybe more love for the package of Mahomes and Kelce than it was for those two. I don't know. You're a defender.
Yep.
You're in meeting rooms. Who's harder to defend?
Great question. You know, because I never played against Kelce. So, like, we never game planned against him. Now, I played with Kelce, but never played against him.
And even then, wasn't in like this kind of Kelce. That was early Kelce.
But keep in mind, too, the only time I ever played against Gronk was when they had Aaron Hernandez as well.
Oh, wow.
So, like, we're game planning for both of them.
Yeah. And just trying to survive.
Exactly. So, you know, that's super hard to say. But let me ask you this question, Brent, in terms of game planning then, okay? I got that joke, by the way. It took me a bit, but we finally got there. Oh, man.
Maybe that was inappropriate.
No, you're fine. You said it. It's out there in the airwaves. Yeah. That's Action Sports and Jack's News. Brent Martineau, everybody. Through their careers, in your opinion, who had the better running teams every single year? Because you see where I'm going with this, or not?
I think they both have really good quarterbacks, right?
Sure.
And I think they kind of run the ball in a similar way. I think they're efficient.
Okay, in terms of their teams. I'm saying who had the better running game in terms of like the running back, like blocking is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
here.
I would say
Who's
the Patriots
better run
overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say
so you're telling me Gronk's better dual because he did both.
I would say
impacted the blocking game more.
Yeah, not to say that Travis Kelce doesn't do that. I think Travis Kelce has a more finesse style, right, when it comes to sealing off a block. Gronk would push you 10 yards back if he could.
Yeah, I got you.
So
I would agree with that. That's
to me,
a good point.
To me, that stands out. I mean, Mercedes Lewis has made a career. There's a reason why Mercedes Lewis is still in the league, and spoiler alert, it's not because of his receiving capability, even though I love the guy to death, because he's a great run blocker as well. So we talk about the tight end position. You got to take into account run blocking, and I think Gronk has the advantage there.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's fair. It'd be interesting if you poll a lot of players and coaches.
Yeah,
which one is more difficult? And the thing that I make Kelce so difficult is he freelances, so you can't even plan for it. So I think that part becomes tricky. All right, let's take a break here. Brent and Austen Show. Matthew Driscoll from UNF getting set to join us here in a little bit, we think. Scheduled to join us tonight. The Ospreys play against North Alabama at UNF Arena. And we'll continue to talk about football as well. But check in with Matthew Driscoll when we come back on the Brent and Austen Show.
I gotta cut in real quick.
Oh.
I gotta show Austin this. I know Friday Fits is tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, but I need, Austin, your opinion on one of the more historic outfits that I have ever seen.
First of all, is this recently? Because I haven't seen this picture.
This is not that recently. This is at an NBA game, I believe, in the last year or so.
Okay, and this is Shannon Sharp, obviously.
This is obviously Shannon Sharp.
Who does not own a large or extra large.
So first of all, Shannon Sharp looks like he's wearing a white tee, but turned into an Under Armour 2005 spandex just tight T-shirt that they used to produce back in the day. And then, I don't know, and now I'm going to call the cops because apparently Shannon Sharp somehow snuck into my grandma's house, cut up her Afghan, and now seems to be wearing that around his shoulders. So Shannon Sharp, now I got a problem with you, man.
Yeah.
Now I got beef with you. So either invite me on your show and we'll go toe-to-toe, or I'll call the cops.
I was going quilt. You went Afghan, and I like it better.
Yeah, come on, man.
Good pull, man.
The older
That's
ladies
a
use the
great
Afghan.
pull.
The older ladies use the Afghan.
Very, very good pull
There
on
we
the
go.
Afghan.
Yeah. Yeah, that just makes me upset, though. Thank you for sharing
Shannon
that, Hamby.
Sharp with a tease of Friday fits, which we will have tomorrow, coming up on the Brent Austin Show. In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
Investigative journalism. It's the difference between the Action News Jack style of news and everyone else's.
I'm Ben Becker. This scam is targeting residents on the South Side.
We investigate so you're crystal clear how a story impacts you.
I'm Emily Turner. Take a look at the fine print because you're still getting billed.
Because our reporters don't just tell you what happened, we break down how it affects you and your neighborhood, which is why people are putting their trust in us. Action News Jacks at 5 and 6. It's local coverage you can count on.
Stop by the new car sales event happening right now at Greenway Kia at the Avenues. $500 in a job gets you in a Kia. And Michael Montiero and the staff here at Greenway Kia are here to make it happen. Experience great customer service and become a part of their family. And while you're here, check out the Kia Forte GT line, full of comfort, innovation, and has driver assist technology. And how about the affordable new Kia EV9, the fast-charging, all-new electrical SUV with high-performance capability, 3-row seats with 304 miles of maximum driving range. Over 1,000 new Kia models, some starting at $199 a month. And as always, get the 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Come shop at Greenway Kia at the Avenues, located on Phillips Highway. You can shop online at greenwaykiaattheavenues.com. And remember, $500 and a job gets you in a Kia at Greenway Kia at the Avenues.
Before Action News Jacks at 5 breaks today's top stories, know this. We're asking the tough questions for you.
Were you targeting the Tebows?
Our team of reporters are relentless,
Do you have anything to say to your former employees?
working to find answers,
If we wait in the parking lot, you'll talk to us on camera.
never stopping,
Have you paid back any money?
so you know what's really going on.
Your own counsel said it was an investigation.
I'm just asking questions. I mean, is it a conflict in your mind?
Action News Jacks at 5. It's local coverage you can count on.
It's a big month of hoops ahead at UNF Arena. The Ospreys are playing well and in prime position for a good seed in the A-Sun tournament come March. And we want to see you at the arena on February 17th. There's not a game that night, but we do have a lot of fun planned with the Blue and Gray Bash, the annual UNF party. We will be there with Action Sports Jacks. Dan Hicken and I play host. You just bring the fun. The event raises money for student-athlete scholarships at UNF. It's in the arena for the first time. Just click on the QR code you see or head to UNFospreys.com for more information. It's an 80s-themed night with a sit-down dinner, drinks, live band, silent auction, and so much more. February 17th, VIPs get in 5:30 until 7 p.m. Then the main event is 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Celebrate 40 years of athletics at UNF. 80s-themed prom attire. February 17th, the Blue and Gray Bash, bigger than ever before. And don't forget to check out UNFospreys.com for news, schedules, results on all things UNF Ospreys.
Streaming right now on Action News Jacks.
Let's get your morning started.
It's local.
Take a look at this surprising video.
It's breaking. It's weather 24/7.
I gotta keep you guys safe.
It's original.
More trucks, more food.
It's entertaining. Now it's new and free.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
Everywhere and anytime. Stream Action News Jax wherever you watch.
Perfect Rack Billiards has a deal for you. 50-cent Wing Fridays during lunch. Get out of work early, get a head start on the weekend, or just take a lunch break. 11:30 until 3 p.m. on Fridays. Every Friday, Perfect Rack Billiards with 50-cent wings for lunch on Fridays. A perfect place to stop in Murray Hill, play some pool, play some darts, maybe some shuffleboard. Now, that's a heck of a lunch break. And get those 50-cent wings on Friday just to make it better. 11:30 to 3 p.m. on Fridays at Perfect Rack Billiards. Hey, welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show on a Thursday here in Jacksonville. It's a beautiful day. Kind of looks like that, although that's not a live shot. And that's not Jacksonville, I don't think. Where are we going? It's Gainesville.
Okay, yeah.
There we go. It took me a long time.
I was like, is that
figure
Murray
out.
State for a second? I couldn't tell what that was.
That is not Ashland.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's not Jacksonville as well. That is look around the state of Florida. And in a moment or two, we'll check in at the University of North Florida with men's basketball coach Matthew Driscoll. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane. You know, March Madness is coming up. You're a Murray State guy. How was Murray State this year?
Not too bad. All right.
It's okay?
Yeah, they're doing okay. Yep. Yeah, they moved conferences now. So they're in the Missouri Valley, I think.
Are they in the Missouri Valley? They were in the Ohio Valley?
Correct,
right?
yeah. So they're playing like North Dakota State now and all those big dogs over there.
They're playing North Dakota. They're the same as North Dakota State?
North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Can't remember. Yeah. Bigger, especially in football, obviously. That's what they're known for.
Yeah. The keeping up with the conference affiliation is it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think we'll settle down some point, but trying to figure out where people are, where they've been. If you don't check in with it regularly, it's like districts in high school sports.
Well, I mean, to me, see, I'm a big thing of the Big Ten. We haven't talked about this at all, Brent, but like the Big Ten, when they brought on Oregon and UCLA and Washington, makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but other than the money, it makes sense.
No, I mean, the money talks. I get that. But yeah, just the whole conference thing, it doesn't even seem like a thing anymore, honestly.
Submarine Mike, we will get the occasional shot of the community first igloo. That's not a bad idea. And
I like that.
We also will get some Iceman stuff. Icemen are on fire. They won like 9 out of 10. I think they've won 6 in a row. They're scoring a bunch, playing really good. So we will check in with the Jacksonville Icemen.
What time do they practice at? Because I'd love to get a practice session with them during the show sometime. We can go live there.
That's a good idea.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Get you on the skates.
Let's
My
go,
guess
man.
is right about now.
Okay.
Is a good time to do that.
So when I was in Toronto for the UFC event, right outside of our hotel, they have skating rinks everywhere. I got to do a little skating in Toronto.
You did?
I did, yeah.
How did you do?
Oh, I could kill. Come on, how did I do? You know, I crushed
Skating
it.
in Toronto is different
Charlie
than skating
Conway.
in Jacksonville.
Well, so it was outdoors, and by the way, it was minus 6 degrees outside, but I still got the job done.
All right, good deal. Hamby, do we have Coach? Did you give me the thumbs up? All right, thumbs up nowadays. I'm like going with thumbs up. I'm just like, okay, let's try. Let's figure this out and check in with Matthew Driscoll, who's going to give us a tour of the University of North Florida campus. I think, Coach, can you hear us?
A-Train, you should have been there for the bare knuckle fights we had about a month or so ago. That thing was crazy. Man,
I heard all about him, Coach. Great to hear from you, man.
Hey, there was more teeth laying on the ground than my dad's dentures when I was a kid. I was like, whoa. I ain't seen this forever. There's our cheerleading squad getting ready for the game tonight. And obviously, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. Right here is really cool. Can you see the fountain? Can you hear the fountain?
Oh, I can hear it.
So look, so you can't quite see it. Well, right there in the shadow there's a nice bench. So you lay down there, right about now, you got a little white noise, a little natural white noise. You get your good nap over on that bench right there.
Hamby, are you listening?
Hey, listen, I don't know. I've never done it, but I've seen a couple people. Let me put it that way.
Coach, give us what's game day like for you? You guys, the hay in the barn, or you got to do a little more to get ready for this game tonight against North Alabama?
Well, you know, you're always, watching and you're always looking and you're always trying to figure out, is there something here? Is there something there? The way in which they did this against them. You're always doing that. I just got done finishing my 7 things that I always present to the guys during shoot around. Really got those things cleaned up and tightened up as well, too. And then Dallas Moore's in town. So I had an opportunity to be with him this morning, spend a little time with him. He's unfortunately has an Achilles injury, and he's just got done with surgery. He's back in the States, and so he's going through that rehabilitation process. So you'll see him tonight when you do the game. But really, really, really cool. And then, of course, it's homecoming. And then when it's homecoming, obviously, a lot of the guys come back. And so there'll be a lot of guys from our original team, Andy Diaz, David June, Will Wilson, even as far back as those guys go, will be back for the game as well, too. And, you guys all know, this is February separation time. And it's a huge part of college basketball across the landscape, no matter what league you're in. And you watched the games last night. You watched the games tonight, and of course the game that we're in. Obviously, we're playing against the hottest team in the league. They won 4 straight. They started off 1-4, and in this league, that's what happens. The parity this year, Brent, from top to bottom, is like everybody is so good. I mean, obviously we were picked 11th, and Central Arkansas was picked 12th, and both of us have gone way above kind of what those people thought. And so it's a great time of year. It's February it really separates kind of what's up and where things are going on. And of course you got championship week that'll come up at the end of the month as well too. So it's crazy. It's crazy to think that we only have 7 games left, and it's just the season just goes so fast and things happen quickly, and so it's an exciting time, that's for sure.
Coach, when you talk about, finishing 11th out of 12th in the preseason coaches poll for the A-Sun, does that add a little extra motivation to you? Do you use that for your players as well, or is it just kind of white noise? You just go about your business and don't worry about it?
So twofold. That's a really good question. So twofold. First of all, we tell our guys October's perception, March is reality. However, the coaches poll has definitely got way more validity. No disrespect, Brian. The coaches poll has way more validity than the media poll, because the coaches have a better feel for who transferred in. The coaches have a better feel for who transferred out. The coaches have a better feel for that particular scenario. Here's the deal. 15 years, we've always received the first place vote because they allow us to vote for our own teams. So I'm not going to walk in the locker room and say, "Hey, guys, just so you know, I voted for somebody else, but I'm just tricking them." I'm just trying to build come on, that's bullcrap, right? So I'm always going to vote first, right? And so we got 36 points, and that's 12 of them. So I told our guys at the beginning of when we started the league, I said, "Guys, listen, I'm not into this stuff, but I think analytics is important. 36 minus 12 is 24. 24 divided by 11 teams left in the league is 2 and some change. 2 and some change means they either voted us 11th or 12th, and then maybe one guy who really likes me voted us 7th, so they probably the rest of them picked us 12th. So, let's not get fooled by what everybody feels about who you are and what you guys. So, that was that was just something that we threw out at the guys, because I think it does matter, and I think it does help those guys understand. And with our non-conference the way it is, it also allows you to really have the opportunity to get a feel, especially us. Now, first game of the year at Stetson, we lose Amitri Moss to a torn ACL. We're up 10 with 6 minutes to go. So now you lose your lead guard, the guy that you just taught how to be that dude who's playing, 30 minutes a game, playing great basketball. And all of a sudden now you're only a freshman. And we're the only team in the league that starts 2 freshmen. In a rarity, the top 5 teams in the league have their top 4 or 5 guys back, and that's normal at this level. So our transfers and freshmen, those are the guys that have to figure it out and have figured it out. And the other thing too is, guys, you can't walk away from the fact that you put yourself in second place. And you're tied for second place, whatever you want to call it. You put that in the books. Don't be embarrassed about that. Don't walk away from that. But it doesn't, really come into play as far as preparing for tonight. But you look what you've done. Look how you've done it. So now, and the thing we got to do is we just got to tighten up the fence. We're the best offensive team in the league. We usually always are. And the other night we just had, and you know what? Hey, let me ask you something, Austin. if
What
you
you
was
got?
in a fight, right? And,
Mhm.
and you're like in the third round, right?
Okay.
And your guy told you like a basic fundamental, right? You know, jab, jab, hook, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think this guy's gonna go jab, hook, jab. And you try to like outthink yourself and out like whatever instead of just being fundamental basics. Like this is what the guy does. And then the guy
Yeah.
goes jab, and the guy goes jab, jab, hook, and then he knocks you out.
Yeah.
Like those are the plays, those are the littlest details. Those are the things that it really in two of our three losses, obviously double overtime, and then Stetson was the last second shot. Like those are the things that really have costed us. Where we didn't stay true to our principles, we didn't stay true to what we do. We thought that maybe this was a better way, or in that moment it might have been a better way, and it's come back to bite us twice. And so like you don't want to get knocked out, right? Like
No. Yeah.
so go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Coach, it's a great point. You know, I mean, I haven't been out of the first round too many times. I've been out of the first round twice, in my MMA career, and one of those went to the fourth round, where you know you get fourth round, it's deep waters, right? I mean, you're trying to find your breath, you're trying to stay calm, you're trying to stay collected, and yeah, what I ended up doing was relying on my fundamentals, and I got the KO in the fourth round. I think that can be tied to fighting. It can be tied to any kind of sport where we get so preoccupied sometimes with what teams are trying to do to us that we forget our own fundamentals in itself. You know, I mean, no one knows your fundamentals better than you. So I think if you stick with those, whether it's on defense in basketball, whether it's on offense in football, whether it's in a fight, if you stick with those fundamentals, you can definitely have success. Yes.
Don't you believe? Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it that way because that's not fair for you. So to us, like that's toughness. Like people think toughness is, you know, getting in a fight or, you know, breaking your leg and not whatever, you know, whatever people think. Like that's toughness. Having the mental capability to not only know what's right, but to do what's right. And to do what's right at the time that is even more critical than it's ever been before. And that mental toughness is, you know, it's hard to train. It's you know, Dallas was really upset. He sent me a nice text, but he was really upset. But he's like, you know, like, good thing is, coach, that the experience is the best teacher. And I said, Dallas, the bad thing is we still lost. So can we learn through winning?
Yeah, no, for sure. But Coach, I mean, I want to pick your brain a little bit because you bring up some great points here, and I love this conversation here. You know, when I played on the defensive line with the Jaguars, my coach always told me that defense is all about attitude, and offense is all about preparation and skill. So when you talk about you know what you guys are doing right now in terms of defense, yeah, it could be an attitude thing. But, like, you guys are kind of in the dog days of the season right now, right? And it's not like football where, okay, Tuesdays we practice, Wednesdays we practice, Thursdays a little easier. Like, you still have to prep your guys to try to keep your guys healthy through these dog days. So then how do you go about doing that? How do you go about setting a precedent of, hey, let's change the attitude, let's get better on defense, but also listening to your players if maybe they are a little tired because they still got to go to school. You know, it's a long season and you have school as well.
So really, really good question. It's full of a lot of nuggets. And the one thing we talk about is when the dog days come, DAWG, this is exactly what you just said. You're going to love this. When the dog days come, DAWG, right? A disciplined attitude wins games. And everything that you've done and everything that you've gotten to has all been for this particular moment where we have to trim and we have to cut and we have to be more cognizant of nutrition and sleep and bodies and hitting and all those different things that go into being an athlete. And so when you have a disciplined attitude and you understand those nuances, you shouldn't have to worry about ball screen coverage. You shouldn't have to worry about the way in which these guys are going to run this particular set or do this particular thing or press or whatever it is. And so when you have a disciplined attitude, it wins games, but it also rejuvenates your body and refreshes your mind and allows you to, you know, to stay balanced, so to speak, because it is mental. Like we all know it is mental, right? At the end of the day, there's a mental aspect that goes into athletics. And so, like yesterday, we do this one thing called Fast and Furious, where it's a defensive segment to just kind of keep, you know, they were off Sunday. Monday was weights and just shooting and skill work. Tuesday is like we call it install day, which you guys probably did the same thing, called install day, where we just kind of guarded against stuff that we think we're going to see from them. But we call that fast and furious. And the reason we call that is because everything we end with goes to offense. So it's not just a drill, so to speak. There's actually an opportunity to transition from one end to the other, but we cut it short. We keep cutting it down and cutting it down and cutting it down. And so the specifics at this time of year is video. The specifics is that walkthrough. The specifics is this particular action that they love to do. And so those specifics, we really, really hone in on from that aspect, which is non-body blow, so to speak. And so it's a great question. It's a great point, but we call the dog days a discipline attitude wins games. And the teams that have the greatest discipline, those are the ones that, and we've always been a great February team. The last 5 years, we're 27-9, including COVID. We were 1-3, but we never had a home game. So really 26-6, 4 out of 5 years. And so we really feel like that's part of it.
Coach, we appreciate the tour of campus. Did you have to get your steps in?
Actually, I'm not a step guy. I've never been one of those guys. The way I burn it and the way in which I go about it every day, I don't know if steps is really probably in my favor. And I'm so OCD that I'd be 2,000 short, and I'd go out at midnight just to, make sure I got it done. And that's ridiculous. I shouldn't be doing that. So love you guys. I'm so happy for you guys. Austin, it's great to hear you back.
Thanks, Coach.
And I love your perspective, and I love the fact that you've been through so much and you're still going through it, but from a different atmosphere, so to speak, or different environment, I should say. But at the end of the day, athletes are athletes, preparation is preparation, and how you go about your business is how you go about your business. So I'm really excited to hear you back with Brent, because I really think you guys are phenomenal. I think you guys really are a great combination, and I wouldn't want to say peanut butter and jelly because I don't like peanut butter and jelly. So I would say more bacon and eggs, if that's okay with you.
Oh, hey, I'll take that all day.
That sounds
delicious.
Good. Hey, good luck tonight, Coach Driscoll. Thanks for checking in.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. I think a skateboarder almost took him out, by the way, in the background.
No one else is doing that much. No one else is giving the Blair Witch Project experience, except instead of being scared, you're super motivated, man. I'm ready to run through a wall right now.
Yeah, no, that's Coach Driscoll for you, man. He's awesome. And where we tried it, I was like, nobody's doing that, maybe for a reason.
No, that was awesome, man. That was great.
I was like, if he kept walking, he would have ended up at our studio. I mean, he's not really that far away.
He's not that far away. But no, dude, we saw the cheerleaders. We saw the fountain. We saw a little napping post for Hamby over there when he gets tired.
I thought he was taking us out to the baseball field for a second. I thought he was going to show us the baseball field, showing off the facilities over there at UNF. So just some of the fun stuff. I thought they're shooting around at like 2:00. So initially we were going to go inside the gym and see some of the shoot around and stuff like that. But fun things ahead. Maybe in hindsight, we'll write a note down. I'll go send like Stuart, Marcel, Olivier over there.
Yeah,
and we'll go with our live apparatus.
I'm just saying, I actually did enjoy the tour of campus.
You like the tour?
Yeah, man. It takes you behind the scenes a little bit. You got to like that access. Come on now.
We'll figure it out. It's good behind-the-scenes access. I like that a lot. Yeah. We're going to get noon hour coming up, and we talk some football and Trevor Lawrence. We left some topics on the table around Trevor Lawrence. So we'll get to that and talk the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Been talking a lot about Super Bowl 58 as well. And I still don't fully understand the whole report about Mike Vrabel. The NFL, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the questions you got asked at the Combine. That's what it kind of reminds me. I know it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a minute or two about that as well. We are live, Brent and Austen Show, here on a Thursday, week number 1 of this new adventure. Thanks for hanging out with us. I like to say everybody has a story, and sometimes we're a part of other people's stories. That's the case here at Nimnick Buick GMC. My family and the Nimnick family. We've purchased 6 different vehicles from Nimnik Buick GMC. Maybe you're in the market for a truck. Well, let me tell you about the GMC Sierra. I absolutely love mine. I've had a couple of these. This one's a 2020, but right now on 2024 GMC Sierras here at Nimnik Buick GMC, there's special financing. A year ago, we purchased a GMC Terrain for the kids. Financing rates as low as 1.9% right now for eligible buyers on Terrains and Acadias too. Looking for used instead of new? Buy a used car with the Car Bravo program. Nimnik Buick GMC certifies all makes and models. Let the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville take care of you and your family. Come on out and see the showroom, meet the fantastic people, or shop online at nimnikbuickgmc.com. Nimnik, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
There's never a dull day in Duval. At Action News Jax, we know Jacksonville is so much more than crime stories. That's why we're dedicated to covering every local neighborhood. Real stories told by real people, making a positive impact. Plus, with our fleet of drones, the First Alert Storm Tracker, and our passionate team of reporters,
doing a story about the bad gas that was found here.
You know, if it's happening now and in Jacksonville, it's on. Action News Jax. Local coverage you can count on.
The friendliest golf course in town, the Golf Club at Southampton. Local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jax Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jax Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
Thank you for making Action News Jax the best in Jax and Folio's Best of Jax 2023. Best TV station, Best TV newscast, Best TV morning show. Chandler Morgan voted Best TV anchor. The Chief, Mike Burrish, voted Best meteorologist. And Brent Martineau voted Best TV sports anchor. And while you're on the go, Best news website and Best local blog, The Burrish Blog. Thank you for making Action News Jax local coverage you can count on.
It can be daunting to fix or replace your AC unit. We've done it a couple of times, but it's a better experience because of Bold City Heating and Air. We visited boldcityac.com. They did the rest. There are not a lot of Jacksonville-grown and family-owned air conditioning businesses anymore. Bold City Heating and Air is just that, and it feels like it. They will help you navigate the process with first-class service, and they have no payments, no interest for 12 months right now on new systems. $50 off any repairs. Make sure you're safe and comfortable at home, and let Bold City Heating and Air help. boldcityac.com.
I'm Action News Jax First Alert meteorologist Garrett Beaton. While the sun is up, and it's going to be a beautiful day.
Sometimes you just need a day to yourself. And Garrett's First Alert forecast makes sure you're ready to go out and enjoy. Garrett and the Action News Jax This Morning team, helping you start your morning right.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. Right now, you can save $1,000 or more when you bundle the Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
He needed that serve bad.
What the heck? Will Levis is good at ping pong, I guess. Table tennis.
That was Will Levis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that.
Watch him. He gets into this thing. Boom. He beat,
I don't like that.
Beat Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I guess it's Procter & Gamble's paddles tournament, they call it.
I mean, is that another dub for the Tennessee Titans? Or not?
He can win in table tennis. That's fine.
Okay. I got you. Well, I'm just saying they're carrying the momentum from the last game, and now
he didn't play
tennis.
in the last game. So.
Well, he's part of the team, Brent.
I kind of wish he did.
It's Team Titans versus Team.
Maybe they wouldn't have run as many yards first.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. He wouldn't have handed the ball off as well as Ryan Tannehill did to Derrick Henry. Okay.
He did win the doubles competition with kicker Dustin Hopkins.
Yeah, Trevor did win the doubles competition.
Okay, with Dustin Hopkins, who's he playing for?
Browns, right?
Who's he play for? I don't know.
Browns?
It's a kicker. How am I supposed to know?
I think he's Cleveland Browns kicker.
Okay, gotcha.
He's bounced around. Used to be able to play for Florida State. Okay. How about that? So
nice pull.
Brent Martineau along with Austen Lane, and that is the voice of Jason Hamby as well. And a little more Trevor talk on the way. But I did tease it. You guys seem to like my Mike Vrabel story, which really was your Mike Vrabel story.
Yeah.
And the report was that he is too big. And I even asked you, I was like, what are you talking about? He's too big. And the report is he's too big in physical stature for one GM or some GMs, or that's why he didn't.
So
how did we get here?
In an article put out by The Athletic that I didn't subscribe or pay for, so I only saw like the Cliff Notes because I'm not paying anything for anything. A current GM, supposedly, came out and said that they think that Mike Vrabel does not have a job right now because teams are intimidated, whether it's the owners or people involved in the hiring process. They are intimidated of Mike Vrabel's size and stature.
I don't understand that.
I mean, he is a pretty big dude.
Like, how big is he? It's not like
I don't know, Brent. He was a former NFL player.
It's not like he's Calais Campbell.
Okay, let me look up.
Like Calais Campbell's an intimidating figure.
Why is this in your? I don't care how many kilograms. Okay,
kilograms.
Hey, I'm gonna need a new computer up here because it's got kilograms listed instead of pounds. So I'm not sure what we're doing in this studio. Hang on, please. I have to find the conversion chart.
She used to be a doctor's office.
Okay, so he's 1.93 m's, whatever that is. That meters? Is that big?
How'd you get what did this come from?
Hey,
London?
man, you tell me.
Here you guys go.
It's the London edition.
I guess.
Hey,
Hamby, you got us? Because I'm in metric.
I mean, look, he doesn't even have pads on.
Yeah, Brent, that's a pretty big dude. So, you don't think he's big?
Well, tall-wise, like Vrabel, I saw Vrabel next to Doug Peterson. They're about the same size.
Yeah. Well, Doug Peterson's you're speaking of former players, Brent. Like, these guys are all pretty big.
I understand. I just don't get why that's intimidating to a GM. Like, that seems like such a bogus story.
Okay, well, I see because you say they're not intimidating because you have to talk to these people every single day, right?
Yeah.
And you're on your high horse. You're not intimidated by them. I get that. But from the normal person, from the casual person, or some maybe people in power positions like a GM or like an owner or something, maybe they are a little intimidated.
How surprised are you that he didn't get a job?
By the way, Mike Vrabel, 6'4", 261. Yeah.
Glad you figured this out.
He's kind of a big dude.
He could play end.
He's kind of a big dude.
Still.
Yeah, still.
Did play.
Exactly. He did play end. Well, and tight end, too.
You guys taking that?
Well, he caught some touchdowns in that. He was that wrinkle on the other side.
You guys taking that or this?
Patrick Mahomes. Do the Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and I guess physique doesn't matter.
Can I just say, I mean, because the guy's pretty mobile, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
A man that mobile and confident on the football field should not be built like that.
Do you think he goes to the weight room?
Do you?
I mean, I watched QB1, the documentary on Netflix. The guy goes to the gym.
Okay, well, that's more of just for show. You have to understand some of these things.
Come on.
Hey, are you looking at the picture I'm looking at right now, Hamby?
I know.
What is he lifting?
Maybe an ale.
With what? Is he doing lower body? Because he ain't doing upper body workouts, that's for sure.
I was going to say, like, he actually, he's got a huge trunk, though.
Spoken like the creepiest scout at the NFL Combine.
That's what you came up with?
Fantastic. He's got a big trunk?
He does.
You sure?
Oddly,
yeah, it's like
he has some sand in his pants? Is that what you're saying?
He does. He's like a pitcher. You know, like,
do pitchers have big sand? Do they have big trunks?
Oh, yeah.
Pitchers have big butts and big hamstrings.
Yeah.
And big quads.
What time is it?
I don't know if you can have big hamstrings, but big quads.
Okay.
You have, what do you call it? Your ham hocks?
Ham hocks, Brett.
Yeah.
Get it right.
Mm-hmm. What about quads?
Yeah, I mean, quad, ham hock.
But I mean, if you look at a pitcher,
okay,
get your guy like Strider for the Braves, right?
Okay.
He's not big up top at all. Like Mahomes is actually built more like that. Like he's got his lower half is big.
Okay.
At least when he's in uniform.
Sure. Okay, I guess I never really noticed, to tell you the truth. I didn't look at that part. But
well, if we're critiquing the upper half,
I'm just saying the upper half is there's much to be desired in the upper half. My son is more ripped than Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not bragging about my son by any means. It's not like my son's in the weight room. But I'm just saying with my son's diet of sweet tarts and fun dips and like 3 root beers a day, my son is a lot more ripped than Patrick Mahomes is.
Shout out Fun Dip.
Oh, dude, so good.
Dip, man.
Dave and Buster's.
So good.
Oh, yeah. As soon as you get a token, you're at that.
It's that Fun Dip.
Yep.
So are you surprised Vrabel didn't get a gig?
I'm very surprised. Just because like he's had what he's had to work with in Tennessee. I mean, I get it, like they're the big rivals, so we hate on them and everything, but like it's not like Tennessee had roster after roster of legit talent.
No, I
think Vrabel got as much as he could out of that talent. So the fact that he can't even get a sniff, he may have like an interview or something, but like he can't even get a job is baffling to me. See, I don't think size has much to do with it. Honestly, I think that's a stupid reason you don't want to bring in somebody. But I think it's the same reason why Bill Belichick right now doesn't have a job either. And it's simply because of their philosophies and their attitude. You get the sense that Mike Vrabel is definitely that old school type of coach, right? Mm-hmm. Like, going to be a hard training camp.
Not as much of like the Belichick type, but yes, along those
lines. But I think
hard-nosed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he leans more towards that than he would like, like a Doug Peterson or like a Sean McVay per se.
I would agree with
right? Yeah. So I think teams these days are looking for more of those coaches that are a little more player friendly and not so much like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna bite these kneecaps. Even though Dan Campbell single-handedly kind of turned around the entire city of Detroit. So like, why wouldn't you want to find a guy like Dan Campbell is beyond me? Because I think there's similarities between Mike Vrabel and Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I actually think it's a danger of what teams are. I thought maybe would try to do, but I'm not sure I saw it in the cycle. I thought more teams would try to be like Detroit.
Yeah.
But I think he's a little bit of a unicorn. So you're not going to do that. Now, like Mike McDonald's, he's a defensive guy. He got the job in Seattle. I don't know him from a personality standpoint, but it doesn't come across as Campbell or even a Belichick or a Vrabel or anything else. I mean, listen, Carroll's a defensive guy too, and he wants to play physical ball, but he comes across with a smile on his face. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting dynamic in general. There were decent, I think, 3 defensive guys that were basically hired in this cycle. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought more people would try to duplicate, though, because it's a copycat league. I just don't think you're getting Dan Campbell in. Now, maybe what they copied with the Dan Campbell thing is the Raiders, right? The Pierce hire?
True, yeah.
Because hard-nosed defense and also
a lot of
former
people,
player.
Yeah, and plus a lot of the players were campaigning for him as well, though. You got the sense, right? Like they wanted.
True.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it kind of fit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the biggest hire that looks like the Detroit situation would maybe be the Raiders situation. More attitude than anything else.
No, without a doubt. Looking at, and we're not sure what's going to happen yet with Vrabel. Maybe takes a year off. Maybe does some commentary.
I would assume he will.
I like what the Jaguars did with Ryan Nielsen because like he seemed like he was like the highest coveted guy and they got him quickly. So you got to appreciate that, right? Get him in as soon as possible. But in retrospect now, with hindsight being 2020, would you have wanted to see the Jacksonville Jaguars try to make a play for Vrabel as defensive coordinator?
I think everybody would have checked that box to begin with, and there was no way he was going to be a DC is the way I look at it.
Okay.
I think somebody around the league would have hired him as a DC if he was going to do it. The Miami Dolphins just hired Anthony Weaver. They would have hired Vrabel, or maybe it would have been in Jacksonville. Or I think folks know that part right away. I'm not sure it was ever reported, but I bet it was. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, he's taking the year off.
But
behind the scenes.
Okay, I get you. But do you think it was more on Vrabel saying, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to get a head coaching job someplace else? Those jobs fell through, and now maybe he's looking for a spot like, hey, I guess I'll be a defensive coordinator until the time being.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt it. That's what I'm saying. I think it's like, I think it's very similar to Doug Peterson, really. Doug Peterson could have been an OC probably somewhere, but he wasn't going to go backwards. And see, I think these guys don't want to go backwards because then you lose your position of then being a head coach again. Mike Vrabel is more valuable in 2025 as a head coaching candidate. I think if he doesn't coach at all this year, rather than goes and gets a defensive coordinator job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know of
get
an
what you're
example,
saying.
and I've just thought of it right now. So, I mean, this is right off the top of our heads.
In terms of
can you
coaches-
think of a guy that dropped back, right?
Yes.
Took a position backwards,
And then
went back up like the next year to head coach.
I mean, I think of a guy that did the opposite. Like Mike McCarthy went out of the NFL for a couple years, then came back as a head coach again. So
Okay,
like
so
that,
we can think of that.
proves
McCarthy,
your point. Yeah, that
Doug
proves your point.
Peterson,
Doug
Vrabel's going to be there. Belichick might be there.
Yeah.
But I'll
No,
give
this
you
is a
one
good question.
like Mike McCoy. Mike McCoy was a head coach. I think then went to be an OC before he ends up being like the Jags QB coach, or maybe it was right after. But he's been at all three positions. But I don't sense that he's going to be the guy again. I'll give you the guy that's actually done it. But it's a rare commodity. Is Doug Marrone. Marrone.
Yeah.
Although Marrone was head coach at Syracuse.
Yeah, babe, are you going to
So
count
he's in
that?
college,
Okay,
so
yeah,
that was different.
Yeah,
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay, yeah.
He wasn't a head coach anywhere else, right? No, they thought he was going to get the Jets job back in the.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it was the Bills job. Whatever, one of the jobs.
He
I think
thought he was in
Bills
the mix
job.
for those jobs. Way back and was a Syracuse guy.
This
and
is
then took a bet on himself.
This is a great question, though. I mean, there's had to be a couple people. I can't think of them.
There might be, but off the top, it does. So my point is, your value as a head coach, like he's going to be a more wanted commodity next year than he was this year. And the reason why he wasn't a wanted commodity this year is because it's hard to sell to your fan base, hey, we got the guy coming in who just went 6-17.
Yeah.
The last 2 years or whatever it is, or lost 17 out of his last 23 games. Even if he's a really good coach, that's a hard sell to your fan base, to your base, to your building, to your everything else. Next year, it won't be that hard of a sell.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, you can then say, he's the guy that took the Titans to the number 1 seed. He's the guy that did this. He's the guy that did that. I think he'll be way more of a hot commodity next year in that regard.
Let me ask you this one. Was Mike Mularkey, did he fit that mold or not?
So Mularkey, where's he been? I'll get it.
For us, yeah.
I'll get it.
By the way, I actually saw Coach Mularkey at Publix for Thanksgiving. Yeah, I was getting my Thanksgiving stuff, and I saw him there.
Mularkey's all over the place.
He's man.
Around town a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go with the Mularkey deal. Tight ends coach, offensive coordinator, head coach of the Bills, 04-05. Drops back to be the offensive coordinator in 06. Tight ends coach in 07. He went from offensive coordinator of the Dolphins to tight ends coach. That's odd.
Still got it, though, Brent. I still got it.
Offensive coordinator to the Atlanta Falcons, head coach to the Jags, tight ends. He actually did it twice because he ended up being the head coach of the Titans.
Yeah. Marathon man.
That's a great call. That's like the best example of it.
There you go.
But an unusual trajectory is the point.
No, without a doubt.
You got to dig a little deep.
Very rare. Yeah.
So I think that's what my guess is. That's what Vrabel said. He's like, I'm either going to be a head coach and land in a spot. And the word was that if Harbaugh didn't get the job in L.A., he would have been the guy. That's the report.
Yeah.
Right? So if he doesn't get it, then he goes and fishes for a bit and plays golf and does whatever else.
Yeah.
Gets a little refresher, comes back energized for the next job next year. And who knows? If things fizzle in Jacksonville, it could be in Jacksonville.
Yeah. You think that's what Urban Meyer's doing right now? You think he's doing that?
I think Urban's a different story.
You think Urban's doing that right now?
I think he's a totally different story.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence, guy we've been talking about, he's making his rounds at the Super Bowl, of course, and there's a lot of activity on the interview cycle for Trevor Lawrence. And we played a couple of sound bites yesterday from his visit with the folks on NFL Network, and we've got a couple more topics here. We already talked contract extension. We talked, I thought was an interesting one from him is the game management. It's, are you a game manager quarterback? I would flip it around and say manage the game better, and I think that's what he was trying to say because all the great quarterbacks, the dynamic quarterbacks, manage the game a great way. This thing still stings in Jacksonville, coming off the way it ended. And Trevor Lawrence doesn't hide from that. None of the players that we've talked to have hidden from that. It was a rough ending and one they've got to learn from and not let happen again. Jason, let's hear from Trevor Lawrence on the end of the season.
Yeah, obviously disappointed. I think everybody felt that way. Organization, fans, city, all that. It's disappointing to finish the way we did, especially where we were at 8-3 at one point in the season. I think it's just it's an eye opener for us, and I think it could be a good thing for us in the long run. And sometimes when you have a season that finishes that way, especially not making the playoffs in the position that we were in, it kind of heightens the sense of urgency for everyone. We know, all right, we're not where we need to be. We know we're not where we want to be, and you're coming off that instead of, maybe a year. Maybe we make the playoffs. We found a way to make the playoffs this year, and we don't learn the lessons we do because we think we're a little bit better than maybe we are. So I think it could heighten the sense of urgency. It could, put a little pressure on us in a good way, and we need that. And, obviously we got to get better this offseason. I think we got a good core group of guys, and I trust the people we have in place. And we just got to find ways to individually improve as a team and find a way to handle adversity a little bit better. I thought the ups and downs of the season we didn't handle as good as we did the year before. So just find a way to finish. You got to play your best ball at the end of the year, and we played our best ball kind of beginning, middle of the year instead of the end, and that was obviously not what you want when you want to make a run and a push in the playoffs.
It's Trevor Lawrence on the finish. You said some interesting things there, and I think these are tough spots, Austin, for these guys to explain what went wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, you've been a part of teams. Go ahead and explain why you lost. Well, we didn't. We just didn't work hard. We didn't put the time in. We didn't have good enough players. Nobody's saying that kind of stuff, right? That's not why. The why here in Jacksonville, I think, is deeper than people want to admit. Right now, it's Bulky's fault. He didn't build a good enough roster. At time, it's Press Taylor's fault. Obviously, the Jags thought it was Mike Caldwell's fault. Nobody wants to use injuries as a fault, but the bottom line is part of the equation. They played a really good schedule when they went on a slide while they got hurt. There were things that took place where teams got hot, and the things that married up for the Jags last year to squeeze into the playoffs and sneak in there didn't marry up this year. In fact, it was the complete opposite, and that's just the way the league works. I think the Jags got fortunate at times 2 years ago. I think they got unfortunate at times a little bit down the stretch of this season. The thing that catches my attention is maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe we can use this.
Mm-hmm.
Will that work? Can you take that? Will the locker room remember this? Will it provide an edge, an urgency, hey, we're not there yet type of feel that maybe this team got a little comfortable thinking we're 8-3, we're pretty darn good, and then once they got in that bad way, they couldn't get out.
Listening to that interview with Trevor Lawrence, it reminded me of a great coach once said, losing doesn't make you want to quit, it makes you want to fight harder. You know who that coach is? Little trivia question for you.
John Wooden.
Bear Bryant. Junction Boys.
Hey,
missed it by that much.
Listen, legend.
Yeah, no, for sure legend. I mean, I'm not sure how much Wooden actually lost, but yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure Bear Bryant would have lost a lot too.
Well, he lost in the beginning a little bit, man. Those Junction Boys. But no, when we talk about, listen, is it going to add extra motivation? Yeah, one would think because you didn't achieve expectations. But then I can make the argument of saying, what happened 2 years ago when you overachieved, were so close to going to the Super Bowl, and a couple plays here, there, and maybe, it's a different story. That had to give you motivation as well. And maybe it did for the first couple games of this past season, then you fell by the wayside. I mean, will this be a wake-up call? Will this be guys, what we did this past year, it can't happen again? I would hope so. But I think at that same point, it's one thing to say, well, guys, we got to do something different. Okay, then do something. You have to actually speak this into existence. You have to have actions behind it. And that's on Trevor. That's on those players, but also it's on the coaches as well. I mean, what you did this past year, it didn't work. Okay, it's as simple as that. You can say injuries. You can say a couple plays here. Whatever the case, fumbles. Yeah, it's a collective of everything. But at the end of the day, you have to take a look and see, listen, what we did didn't work. So how can we change it, and how can we get better going forward?
Here's the deal. I like the psychology of sports, right? And you know better than most about that. I think as you look back on this, and I started to say this really again, I love the Detroit comparison because I think the Jags were kind of in line. The difference between the Jags and the Lions from a starting point is basically Dan Campbell got a jump on Doug Peterson by a year. He's in year 3 of it. Doug just went through year 2 of it. But the Lions were a mess before Dan Campbell got there, and the Jags were a mess before Doug Peterson got there. But what really happened in all of that, in my opinion, and we said this, and we kind of praised this was a positive thing. When the Jags went on that run, and they snuck by the Titans, and they win the division, and they get a home game, and they win a playoff game in epic fashion, by the way, and they've got everything coming back and a year older and a mature group and a team that's hungry and doing all these things. And, well, they skipped a year. They weren't supposed to win that first year. That's not the way this was supposed to go. They had the number 1 overall pick 2 years in a row. You don't go from that to the playoffs, usually. Now, Houston just did it too. But what you were supposed to do was win like 6 or 7 games that year. You were supposed to go from 1 win to 3 wins under Urban to under Doug in year 1. Let's get 6 or 7, start learning how to win, get some momentum. They got to 9, and they went to the playoffs, and they did all those things. In my estimation, I looked at that as the entire offseason. They just skipped a year. Now they become a contender. Well, that's fine in the maturation process of watching a football game or being talented enough or all these things. But maybe not in the psychology of it. They didn't know how to handle it. I sensed many times when Doug was talking this year from offseason, almost like, why is everybody picking us to win this whole thing? Like, not just a division, but I mean, win, like be a Super Bowl contender. Why are people picking us to be a top 4 team? Okay. Like, we might not be we have to still learn a lot of things upstairs as a football team before we get to that stage. And you give them credit for the resiliency, even starting 1-2 and going on a 5-game win streak and winning in 5 different places. And you're like, well, there's resiliency. This is a mature football team. But when they got out to 8-3, when they were playing here for a Monday night game, when they were playing against a backup quarterback in Cincinnati and a team that had struggled a little bit in the last few weeks, they didn't play well from a front-running standpoint, from a team that was now in the elite conversation standpoint, that was truly being hunted, not just by 3 teams in the AFC South, but by the league. They were that kind of conversation. Everybody started to put them in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th best conversation in the NFL at that point. They didn't handle it well. And again, I will say they got hurt at the same time. Other teams got hot, a little unlucky as well. But I just don't think they handled it well. And then they didn't know how to pull themselves out. That shows me not mature, I'm not even sure is the right word, but maybe a hardened enough football team. And so I wonder what Trevor's statement is. Yeah. Did this experience now make them more hardened going forward?
I mean, listen, if that's what it takes, then so be it. But, like, you make good comparisons of the Detroit Lions because you look at the rosters and everything. You look at the story of where these teams have been the past couple of years. And, yes, it really is comparable, right? You have the Detroit Lions go 3-13 Campbell's first year. Then they go 9-8 and then 12-5.
But they missed the playoffs in 9-8.
But they did miss the playoffs in 9-8. So, yes, super comparable. But at the same time, I remember back Dan Campbell's first year, 2021, I was still on the show. And a big debate that we had was when Campbell was at a press conference, he showed a lot of emotion. He started, getting teary-eyed a little bit. And you thought that, you weren't a fan of, the emotion getting shown. And I was. And the reason why I was, did you remember this or not?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was because to me, a grown man essentially crying over the season, it showed he was vulnerable. But number 2, it showed like he cared that much. And you got the sense of that he cared so much that come the next season, come hell or high water, you're going to see improvements because he's going to will it. Somehow, some way, not by willing it, by being a player on the field, not, scoring a touchdown or anything, but like just his influence was going to will that team to be more successful. What happens? 9-8, just missed the playoffs. Still a disappointment to some in Detroit, but it showed promise. And then, this past season, what did we see? Won the division, 12-5, just missed out in the Super Bowl. Okay. Well, what was Campbell's message after that? He goes, we might not be back here again. Yeah. It wasn't like, hey, we're keep it. No, it was almost like a sense of dread. Like, man, that was so tough. Like we got to. So to me, when a coach says those things, like this whole time with Dan Campbell, say whatever you want about him in terms of risking it for the biscuit on the fourth downs or not kicking field goals. Say what you want about him, but his players respect the hell out of him. And his players will run through the wall for him. Now, I'm not getting on Doug Peterson whatsoever. But if I'm going to compare the Detroit Lions to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the big difference to me right now is the culture. And I know what the Lions culture is because Dan Campbell echoes that every single time he steps in front of a microphone. And you know what? And his players show that. When Doug Peterson gets in front of a microphone, do you sense a culture there? Do you sense we know what this team is?
Yeah, this was our age-old conversation of culture and identity.
Yeah.
Right? They morph a little bit. They blend. I get it. I think the Jags do have good culture. I think the resilience of the previous year showed that. The resilience of 1 and 2. The ability to win, and you know this, man, to win 5 different stadiums in a 5-week stretch. Like, if everybody's going to throw culture and that kind of stuff at me when they lose 5 out of 6, I got to throw that back at them because not many teams would be able to do that, right? So it was good. What changed? I think it comes back to identity. I think I also know Dan Campbell and Detroit's identity. I would say to your answer, I feel like Doug has built a nice culture in Jacksonville. I don't know if I know his identity. Quite frankly, I don't know if he knows the identity of this football team because for back-to-back years, they couldn't gain a yard on 3rd and 4th down. So it's hard to build one if you can't do that. But it's a blend. There's certainly a mix of both.
Yeah.
But I get a little more technical there, and I say I'm not going to knock Doug for the culture. I actually think it's pretty good. I think the identity, though, is still unknown. And 2 years in, I don't know if that's acceptable.
Well, and I think culture and identity go hand in hand.
Yeah, they might.
You know,
they probably do.
I think they do. And what's good is this is not a knock on Doug Peterson whatsoever because, once again, it's different coaching styles.
Well, it'd be a knock on him if he had a bad culture. You're not saying bad
No,
culture.
not at all. Not at all. I mean, once again, hey, Andy Reid's doing just fine with his culture, isn't he? And one could say a lot of what Doug Peterson does is because of Andy Reid. So, not hitting that whatsoever. But my only point is, if you want to compare teams between a Dan Campbell coach team and a Doug Peterson coach team, I mean, there was a couple times this past season with the Lions, even when it was like, they're pretenders. Look what Baltimore did to them, 38-6.
Yeah,
right. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
That was a butt whooping. Well, how did they respond to that then? It wasn't like, okay, guys, well, here comes the slid. You know, every team's no. Dan Campbell said, all right, let's play Vegas. And granted, you know, Vegas at the time wasn't that good, but they came out, they beat Vegas, they beat the Chargers, they beat the Bears. It's just like you never let it get out of control. You never let it get out of hand. Yes, it's the NFL. You're going to lose some games supposed to win. Every team does this, Brent. Like, no team goes undefeated anymore. All right? Simple as that. Every team's going to play that 1 game or 2 games where it's like, well, what was that? That's not what I was expecting. But the great teams can take those games and say, well, that's not going to happen again. And that's the difference between Dan Campbell right now and Doug Peterson in terms of when it got bad for the Lions, it didn't get bad for that long. When it got bad for the Jaguars, after that Bengals game, it started to go downhill pretty quick.
This is why it's a weird deal. It's just not a blanket thing. It wasn't always like that. When it got bad for the Jags, they were 3-7 last year, and then they bowed up and won whatever they won, 5 out of 6, then 5 in a row down the stretch. I mean, they had won a bunch. When they got bad here in Jacksonville, and they were stunned by a loss against Kansas City, and they only scored 9 points, and they were stunned by a loss against Houston, where their special teams was a disaster, and they lose to a team that wasn't supposed to be very good, that turned out to be very good. They're 1-2, and they go to London and win 2 games in London. They weren't supposed to beat the Buffalo Bills in London. They were supposed to get a split against Atlanta and Buffalo. And so then they go win 5, and then they couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't get out of the quicksand. So that's why it's not just a blanket deal. We've seen signs of them doing exactly what they did, what Detroit did. In fact, we saw signs of a Doug Peterson-led team, and this was about the same team, of getting their butt whooped in Detroit last year.
Correct.
And then rolling off the wins.
No, for sure.
So it's a really hard thing to pinpoint. It's really tough. And yes, I get it. Campbell screams his identity more than maybe any other coach in the league, right? Which is cool, and everybody knows it. But I think what you're saying, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I just think it's a little bit of a gray area with the Jags because they actually have shown signs of being able to do some of that stuff. And then they didn't down the stretch for what I think is more of a variety of reasons than one simple reason.
So to me, and I had a former player tell me this. I can't name his name because he might be on a different station. But he told me this one time. He's like, what you can tell about a team echoes the last game of the year. Regardless of, now granted, like last game of the year, it could be players are sitting, right? But I'm saying if you're in the playoff hunt, or if you're out of the playoff hunt but you're still playing hard, it echoes what kind of culture you have.
That's interesting.
What's the biggest thing that we all said that last game of the season for the Jaguars and Titans?
Yeah.
There was no dog.
Didn't show up.
They didn't show up.
Yeah.
No intensity. No nothing. And by the way, when you had to have it the most.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once again, it doesn't fall directly on coaches. It doesn't fall directly on players. We can go back and forth with that. But I'm just seeing in terms of the culture and identity, go back to the last game and then talk to me a little bit.
Yeah, you got to find it. Right?
Yeah.
You do have to find it. We got to find ourselves to a break right now. Brent and Austen show here on a Thursday. We'll take you until 1 o'clock. We do it every day now, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Thanks for hanging out with us. And there is a look at that 5-game win streak that resulted in a slide at the end of the year. But even that lost to San Fran. They bounced back and win 2 against the Titans and Texans. Those were huge games at the time. Mm-hmm. So, again, this team is just weird. It's hard to figure it out. It was a lot of Jekyll and Hyde. But the bad came at the same time as the injuries came, too, and that cannot be dismissed. We'll be right back. In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
Investigative journalism. It's the difference between the Action News Jack style of news and everyone else's.
I'm Ben Becker. This scam is targeting residents on the South Side.
We investigate so you're crystal clear how a story impacts you.
I'm Emily Turner. Take a look at the fine print because you're still getting billed.
Because our reporters don't just tell you what happened. We break down how it affects you and your neighborhood, which is why people are putting their trust in us. Action News Jacks at 5 and 6. It's local coverage you can count on.
Stop by the new car sales event happening right now at Greenway Kia at the Avenues. $500 in a job gets you in a Kia. And Michael Montiero and the staff here at Greenway Kia are here to make it happen. Experience great customer service and become a part of their family. And while you're here, check out the Kia Forte GT line, full of comfort, innovation, and has driver assist technology. And how about the affordable new Kia EV9, the fast-charging, all-new electrical SUV with high-performance capability, 3-row seats with 304 miles of maximum driving range. Over 1,000 new Kia models, some starting at $199 a month. And as always, get the 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Come shop at Greenway Kia at the Avenues, located on Phillips Highway. You can shop online at greenwaykiaattheavenues.com. And remember, $500 and a job gets you in a Kia at Greenway Kia at the Avenues.
Before Action News Jacks at 5 breaks today's top stories, know this. We're asking the tough questions for you.
Were you targeting the Tebows?
Our team of reporters are relentless.
Do you have anything to say to your former employees?
Working to find answers.
If we wait in the parking lot, you'll talk to us on camera.
Never stopping.
Have you paid back any money?
So you know what's really going on.
Your own counsel said it was an investigation.
I'm just asking questions. I mean, is it a conflict in your mind?
Action News Jacks at 5. It's local coverage you can count on.
It's a big month of hoops ahead at UNF Arena. The Ospreys are playing well and in prime position for a good seed in the A-Sun tournament come March. and we want to see you at the arena on February 17th. There's not a game that night, but we do have a lot of fun planned with the Blue and Gray Bash, the annual UNF party. We will be there with Action Sports Jacks. Dan Hicken and I play host. You just bring the fun. The event raises money for student-athlete scholarships at UNF. It's in the arena for the first time. Just click on the QR code you see or head to unfospreys.com for more information. It's an 80s-themed night with a sit-down dinner, drinks, live band, silent auction, and so much more. February 17th, VIPs get in 5:30 until 7 p.m. Then the main event is 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Celebrate 40 years of athletics at UNF. 80s-themed prom attire. February 17th, the Blue and Gray Bash, bigger than ever before. And don't forget to check out unfospreys.com for news, schedules, results on all things UNF Ospreys.
Streaming right now on Action News Jax.
Let's get your morning started.
It's local.
Take a look at this surprising video.
It's breaking. It's weather 24/7.
I gotta keep you guys safe.
It's original.
More trucks, more food.
It's entertaining. Now it's new and free. Everywhere, anytime. Stream Action News Jax wherever you watch.
Perfect Rack Billiards has a deal for you. 50-cent Wing Fridays during lunch. Get out of work early, get a head start on the weekend, or just take a lunch break. 11:30 until 3 p.m. on Fridays. Every Friday, Perfect Rack Billiards with 50-cent wings for lunch on Fridays. A perfect place to stop in Murray Hill, play some pool, play some darts, maybe some shuffleboard. Now, that's a heck of a lunch break. And get those 50-cent wings on Friday just to make it better. 11:30 to 3 p.m. on Fridays at Perfect Rack Billiards. Welcome back here to the Brent Austen Show, and baseball season heating up all over the place, really. A lot of the college-level players already underway. Junior college, Division II, Division I gets going next week. There's a look at the historic J.P. Small Park field in Jacksonville. High school baseball, softball, spring sports season on the horizon here in the next couple of weeks. Preseason starts actually next week. This schedule will treat me well for that, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Not too many games between 10 and 1.
I believe that.
How many shows on the road, like over the last 5 years or so? Brent Martineau along with Austen Lane, Brent and Austin here on Thursday, getting closer and closer to Super Bowl 58. Maybe some props tomorrow.
Let's get it.
I got an email that said 264 props. You just spend the whole show going through props?
I like that.
I don't.
Do you have a favorite one?
I haven't looked.
You haven't looked? Okay.
I got one.
Heads or tails?
Okay. Ambi, what do
How
you got?
many times is Tony Romo going to say Jim?
Oh, what is the? Do you have the over/under?
I don't, but whatever it is, take the over.
Is that no? I guess that's. Is that
I don't
a
know,
thing?
Jim.
I don't know, Jim.
I guess okay, that is noticeable. I mean, is there any better story than Tony Romo though? Honestly, like Jim Nantz was saying that people wanted him to fail. There was an article he posted or he got interviewed about saying how no one expected Tony Romo to do anything, and spoiler alert, he became one of the greatest color commentaries of, the past decade. I think
they interviewed him during opening night at the Super Bowl Monday night, and he was literally just talking about how much he had fun, just commentating.
Well, it shows.
Week in and week out. He's literally just a kid up there watching the game.
Yeah.
He's doing his little drawings on the screen. I mean, nobody does it faster than him, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's calling plays as they happen.
He's been able to have a knack for that, and I think he's a lot like other things in our world. Maybe it's the Taylor Swift stuff, but I think it feels like there's a lot of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Kirk Herbstreit has run into that as well. It's like he's everywhere, and maybe there's just too much sometimes of these guys, and I think he was getting so much love, Romo, that then I feel like somewhere along the way, people feel like he got worse, or they just wanted to hate on something a little bit and just didn't like it because everybody else loved it too much. You want to play the opposite trend, whatever.
Sure, play the contrarian. What are your thoughts on Tony Romo?
I think Romo's good, but here's the problem with me.
Here comes the hate.
No, it's not. It's
here
not
it comes.
No, it's no hate.
All aboard.
I don't listen to the games. Like, everybody's at home on Sunday. Like, we're at the games. I don't watch broadcasts of games front to back.
But you watch prime time sometimes. Isn't he on prime times?
He's usually on he does the biggest game of Sunday, 1 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we're never there for it. So I don't have a strong opinion on him because I don't listen to him for 17 weeks out of the year. The times I listen to him are in the playoffs, and he's fine when he's in the playoffs to me. But I actually have to catch up on him and be like, why is everybody hating on him? Because I didn't see it. Like, it kind of blindsided me that people all of a sudden were off the Romo train. But honestly, I listen to highlight calls, but I really just don't listen to it front to back unless it's a Sunday night, a Monday night, a Thursday night, or a playoff game.
Yeah.
Because we're usually busy during that stretch.
Don't worry about it, man. I'm sure AI is going to replace all those guys anyways one day.
It's true. Brent Martineau Austen Lane, they can't replace us.
Patrick Mahomes
Trust
drops
me,
back. No one's going to replace Chris Collinsworth, man, because the way that guy Googles over, like, he has oogly eyes for every single quarter.
I know.
Did you see that screen pass by Josh Allen? Did you see that hand up by Patrick Mahomes?
He's interesting because he owns like everything now. I mean, he's part of all the metrics and everything else. So it's pretty wild. Those guys have become so powerful and obviously get paid a lot of money. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, we'll see if he gets paid a lot of money. One thing that definitely caught my attention at the post-season press conference with Trent Baalke is the injury stuff. He used it in a phrase of alarming, and then he gave some context to it. Alarming. He's got to figure out how to keep himself healthy, but we've got to help him stay healthy as well. So he didn't put it on Trevor necessarily.
Yeah.
It's really the first time in his life that he's shown any sense of injury. The other thing is he showed toughness. And you know when the quarterback shows toughness, that resonates in a locker room.
No, I mean, that's everything. You know, nothing earns a player's respect more like you going out there putting your body on the line and doing what you have to do for the team. You know, I think Trevor Lawrence, I mean, you saw a couple times where he took some pretty nasty shots, was able to get back up and keep on going, you know, and that speaks volumes. Going forward, though, you don't want to see, like, listen, it's one thing if you're a rookie, right, and you're trying to prove yourself, like, but the players in the locker room know who Trevor Lawrence is already, right? Like, he has nothing to prove, really. I mean, yeah, you got to win games, you got to have good stats, all this stuff, but, like, we're past the point now where you got to take unnecessary shots, get back up, and rally the team. We should be past that point.
Yeah, I think the other thing here, and let's hear his thoughts on the injuries, what he said on NFL Network in the last couple of days, because I want to ask you about some of the comments and really how he sees himself. I think listen to this in the context of, I know I'm the franchise quarterback. I know I'm going to be here for 7, 8, 10 years. I know I've got to be the guy like Mahomes is the guy in Kansas City, or Brady was, or Lamar is, or Joe is in Cincinnati. Like, I know I'm that guy. And if you listen to it from kind of that focal point, here's what he had to say.
It's a part of this sport, and there's no excuses when you go on the field. When you step on the field on Sunday, you're expected to perform, especially as the quarterback, you know, and the guy that I touch the ball every play, you know, have a big impact on the game. And you got to play well to win. Your quarterback has to play well in this league. And, you know, that's one obviously regret I have, is that I don't think I played my best at the end of the season, and I wish I'd played better to give us a shot. So that's something where I got to learn from. And, you know, if I'm on that field and whether I'm banged up or what, you're going to be banged up at the end of the season, no matter how healthy you try to stay or how much success you have doing that. You're going to have to play through some stuff. So, you know, I got to find a way to play better through that. And, you know, I'm looking forward to getting another opportunity next year, obviously. But I think we definitely took some steps in the right direction, even though it didn't finish the way we wanted. You know, I think individually, there's things that I wanted to get better at: accuracy, throwing the ball down the field, some situational things that I think I did improve on. And it gets outshined, obviously, by the way the season finished. But I got to keep just taking those steps in the right direction. And us as a team, we got to keep doing that.
That is Trevor Lawrence talking about the injuries and everything else. And so where I want to go with this first, there's a lot of things he said in there, but he just won't make excuses for the stretch run. I think you can make the injury excuse. I mean, he had 3 injuries in a 6-week span that he's trying to come back from, right?
Yeah.
The only time it really worked for him was when he came back from the knee injury and beat the Saints. Or there's curiosity if he could play on that Thursday night. He got back on a short week.
Yeah.
And I think once he did that, I think he kind of felt like he could get back from anything and go out there and play. And in hindsight, I just remember saying this a lot in December. It's not just getting back and playing. It's playing well. Like, you've got to play well enough. You can't just be there and automatically you win. But I like the fact that he said, hey, listen, You're going to play hurt in this league. I think he was talking to everybody, not just himself. Like, you're going to play hurt, and we're not going to use the injury stuff as an excuse. We still should have won games down the stretch, even if we didn't have some of our top guys at 100% health.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a fan, probably just simply fans here. Like, that's probably the most go-to excuse of a bad team, right? Oh, they got injured.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They had a lot of injuries and things like that. You never really hear players echo that, though, right? Because players know, and so do coaches. Every team is injured. Okay,
Yeah.
Every team will have severe blows. Now, some teams seem cursed. Like I remember, like the Chargers. A couple years ago, and in the offseason,
Still
like
do, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
Baltimore's been that way.
Maybe start burning some sage a little bit. I don't know. But, like, for the most part, every team's going to go through that. So then that excuse kind of goes out the door a little bit, and you have to ask yourself, if you're Trevor Lawrence, okay, yes, dealing with an injury. A lot of quarterbacks are. But are you a detriment to your team by playing, or are you helping your team still if you're playing? And that was the biggest thing. And I think, to be fair, what they had as a backup, I think Trevor Lawrence was the best option, right? But that's where, like, the real question comes in. And you saw with Patrick Mahomes a little bit. I think that was last year. Yeah.
In the Jags game.
Exactly. Every quarterback wants to be out there and play, and like you almost got to shoot them to get them off the field sometimes,
Yeah.
it seems like. But like what marks a great competitor and the ultimate team first guy is if you're so compromised where you can't give it 100% and maybe your 70% looks a lot worse than the backup quarterback can do, then maybe you step aside. Now, that wasn't the case with Trevor. I think Trevor, in terms, he was hurt and everything, but he was still the best option, what they had. But I'm just saying, I think it's an interesting conversation sometimes when we have these gladiators out there where it's like, you're too tough for your own good, it seems like.
I honestly don't believe they lost those games because Trevor was in. I really don't. Could he have played a little better? Could he have been more comfortable? Could you have executed better? Because he didn't have a full practice down the stretch of the season. The last full practice, I think, was like December 14th or 15th. So for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, he didn't practice full. That has to throw things off a little bit, right? Your routine, your rhythm, and they were disjointed at times. I think it might have been more of that. I never thought he played poorly because of the injury. I actually thought he threw some beautiful passes in the last game, even with the shoulder injury. Got late in the game, he threw some wild ones.
Yeah.
But not early. I mean, he was 9 for 12 for like 100 and something yards at one time after the touchdown to Ridley, and that was one of his best passes of the year.
And once again, one could say, the holding the ball for too long, the fumbles, things like that, that's not due to injury, right? I mean, like, it's just because you're banged up a little bit doesn't mean you can't throw the ball sooner, right? So, it's definitely, it happens to every quarterback. Every quarterback's a little banged up, but you can't really use that as an excuse.
Yeah, and I don't think they will. I don't think he will. Other thing about that soundbite that he said real quick, he said he got better at things that he was trying to do. Got a little more accurate downfield, those kind of things. I mean, internally, he's going to feel like he checked some boxes, even if it failed down the stretch. If they had just won a couple of games down the stretch, which they were right there to do, if they win 3 out of the last 6 and make it to the playoffs and even lose in the playoffs, I think we would have a totally different feel of where he is right now.
Well, and I think a lot of the disappointment this year from Trevor comes from the fact that he had so many bright plays as well. So, like, when you see him have those signature plays, then it's like, well, how come you can't do that every single game?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got to be more consistent. The floor has to be better. You can't have the bad games. He did have a few that were just bad games. We'll put a bow on the show when we come back. A little noontime news with Jason Hamby. What is going on around the sports world? Right here on the Brent Austen Show. Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder, or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you, so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
Start your morning right. Start your morning right.
A new day, a new traffic headache. But Action News Jack's traffic expert, Maritza Ross, is here to guide all kinds of daily drivers, like the traffic dodgers,
Don't worry, I'm going to get you around this mess on I-95.
the side street seekers,
Now you can exit early on 17 due
the
to...
last-minute leavers.
If you're getting a late start this morning, here are your fastest routes.
So let Maritza save you time on Action News Jax this morning.
Start your morning right.
Navigating to that perfect car can be a daunting task. Trust me, I understand, but if you want to find the perfect blend of sales and service for your automotive needs, look no further than the Tom Bush family of dealerships.
Here at Tom Bush, they do things right. Dating back to 1970, they've been a staple in the community, giving back and keeping everything local. With 4 different brands to choose from, BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, and Mini, there's a car for every member of the family, and the customer service is second to none. Looking to add an electric vehicle to your fleet? Tom Bush remains at the forefront of new technology with plenty of staff on hand to walk you through the future of driving and help eligible customers file for that EV tax credit.
Whether you're looking for your future driver's first car or you want to step up to luxury and arrive in style, the Tom Bush family of dealership is the only stop that you need to make.
Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory at tombush.com.
I've been forecasting the weather for a long time, and no matter where I go, I always get asked the same question.
Hey, Mike, what's the weather going to be like?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, hey, what's the weather going to be like?
I don't mind being asked because I always have the answer. Great day for a perfect round of golf. Hey, little rain later today. So go ahead, ask me.
Hey, Mike, I'm heading out. What's the weather like tonight?
It's the same question, even at home.
Mike Burrish, he's got your weather answer on Action News Jax.
Go where all the pros go. Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute takes care of athletes at the highest level, like the Jacksonville Jaguars players. They will take care of you, too.
Our team covers a lot of teams here in Jacksonville. FSCJ, JU, the Axemen, the Jumbo Shrimp, the Sharks, and of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars. JOI covers all those teams as well. And then there's youth sports. My kids play baseball and softball. And whenever we have an injury question, the first call is to JOI.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute has been serving Jacksonville for 30 years, and they have over 30 specially trained physicians and assistants at 5 locations in the area. If your injury is specific to an area of the body, JOI has a specialist. They also are leaders in robotic surgery, joint replacement, and sports medicine. JOI Rehab has 13 locations and 90 therapists to get you better. Comprehensive care with caring physicians and staff at JOI. From youth sports to high school, college, and the pros, Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. JOI. Go where all the pros go.
When the sun sets and night begins, Action News Jax is working to bring you the big, important stories at 11 you need to know about.
Live in downtown, from Orange Park, from the South Side.
From all over Jacksonville, we keep you informed on local news happening now and get you ready for what's next tomorrow.
Plus, Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish has the area's most accurate forecast to help you plan for the day ahead.
Live at 11, it's worth staying up for CBS 47 Action News Jax.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jax, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jax is always on. Coming soon, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jax 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
The new studio, it was always the Jags, hangs on the wall, and we love it here in the new studio.
Oh yeah, we could open this up for senior pictures with all this lighting and stuff. You know, like senior pictures or cheesy family photos like you got at JCPenney back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
Bring those turtlenecks, everybody. Bring those awkward poses. We got you covered.
Let's see how good Hamby is. See the green turf behind you, which was an Olivia thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
It was a My Wallet thing, but it was an Olivia idea. If we get that camera up top, I don't know where it's at right now.
Put him
Hamby.
on the spot, everybody.
This is what I like to do. I test Hamby out.
Yeah.
See how quick
where
you
he's
get
at?
that. Oh, yeah, look
this
at
is
that.
kind of like a combine for him right now. Okay.
Got the
First
golden-
round grade so far.
Got the golden typewriter.
First round
in
grade
that
so
shot.
far.
We probably should move it.
He's pretty
use it more.
coachable.
But anyway, see that you can see the big turf. And somebody came in and was like, "Is that a green screen for you guys?" I was like, hey, "That's a pretty good idea."
Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's going to be a logo on there.
Yeah.
Instead.
So did you bought the turf from the internet and that?
No, I think Liv got that from like Home Depot or something.
Really?
Liv went shopping.
They got turf at Home Depot, huh?
I guess.
Okay. Is this better than the stuff at MetLife?
Just
it feels about the same.
Yeah. Just don't pull it off the wall.
Feels like I'm getting ready to pull an Achilles just touching it. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. We miss you.
Brent Martineau Austen Lane, Brent and Austin Show. And we do from that to this, the Noontime News, in honor of Casey Kurtz. That's where we get the Noontime News because he loves it so much. Jason Hamby, what you got for us today? Are you ready for it today? Should I buy you more time?
Here we go. You guys got music now, huh?
There we go.
Okay.
Oh.
There we go.
Okay.
Keep that music going.
Yeah. Hey, look, we got Freddie T on the ballot tonight.
Very good.
A lot of, some of NFL's best. Austin's breaking out what? Hold on. You broke the mic.
I'm dancing.
Stay hot.
Don't, baby, hey, don't get distracted, man.
Hey, don't get distracted. It's just background
We got
noise.
Freddie T. Fred Taylor on the ballot. Hopefully he gets his well-deserved due.
Will he get in?
I'm going, yeah. He's been so close so many times. Hasn't he?
Well, it's first time he's a finalist. I mean, he's been on the ballot, and he's been in the semifinalist, but it's really
what else does it take? Look at his averages.
I think he's got some incredible numbers. It's not a matter of do we think he should be in. It's a matter of will he get in. And I just think this takes some time. I mean, it took Baselli 5 or 6 trips to the finalist dance. I think it's going to take Fred time. How about you?
I think it's going to take some time as well, unfortunately.
All right, keep going.
All right, we got former DC Mike Caldwell landing in Las Vegas with Antonio Pierce with the Raiders as the running game coordinator. So he lands another job right away. And then perhaps the biggest news, the GOAT of college football, soon to be replaced, I might add. But right now, the GOAT of college football, Nick Saban, is joining ESPN and will join the set of College Game Day, which I have to admit I have grievances about that are becoming almost conspiracy theories at this point because of all of the weird stuff surrounding College Game Day and my Georgia Bulldogs. I can break that down if you'd like me to.
Oh, wow.
But it's not ideal situation, to be honest.
Well, why about your Georgia Bulldogs? I would think Florida State fans are more like, oh, that's why Alabama got in.
Well, so let me break this down. So it's a 3-step process. And it starts with this about a year and a half ago.
And Georgia, obviously, you've seen in the past couple seasons now, really, they've taken hold of college football. They did an unbelievable job. This is a young football team. This isn't an old football team with a bunch of guys losing. Now, listen, the NFL can take its chunk out of anything.
Okay, so we have David Pollack.
Shots fired.
Who is a Georgia great, telling Nick Saban to his face that Georgia now runs college football.
Love that.
Okay. A couple months later, David Pollack is let go, is not brought back on the set of College Game Day.
Oh.
Okay. And then you have Pat McAfee now joins in Pollack's place. Okay. And he has his whole thing with Georgia when they were in Athens this past year. McAfee was giving us some ribs, back and forth with our fans. So we have that aspect. And then we have Mr. Herbstreit, the other face of College Game Day, trying to get our players, our commits, to go to other schools.
Wow.
Dylan Raiola, number 1 quarterback in this class, 5-star across the board, 99 rated, committed to Georgia for a long time, transferred to Atlanta. His whole family moved to be close to Athens ahead of his college days. He decommits all of the sudden and commits to Nebraska. Why?
We'll bring up one guy's name. His name's
This
Kirk
is his
Herbstreit.
dad.
When he saw the smoke about Dylan entertaining Nebraska, he was like, called me. He said, "Dude, is this true? He got to do it. He got to do it." His affinity for Nebraska, for a guy like that to tell me and to get behind me. Look, I knew he needed to do it, but I wasn't going to sit here and say you need to go change that place or be a part of the change at that place. So when Kirk told me that, I was like, man, this is. I've had people reach out, other coaches reach out to me and say, look, the place is special. Coach Rule's a special leader.
I mean, you kidding me?
Wait, first, okay, real quick though, is that Dominique Raiola? Is that?
Yes.
No, that's his son.
Yes.
I had no idea. I play with Dominic. That guy's crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
No, dude. In terms of
I mean, Austin,
That
what
guy's
kind of
wild.
tampering? What kind of tampering do we have with Kirk Herbstreit calling a player's dad, the top recruit in the class, away from Georgia?
Yeah.
Right after David Pollack has been released from the set of ESPN College Game Day, the best dog, the most famous dog in sports media.
Okay.
And then we got
Marcel Robinson, but okay, yeah.
And Marcel Robinson's right there, you know, 1A, 1B.
Go on.
And now we got Saban now joining the set to be with Herbstreit and McAfee, no Pollack.
Wow, this is interesting. We thought Florida State had
this is
grievances.
Got beef.
Yeah, now the Georgia Bulldogs have grievances.
Man.
And
also, there is a Reddit post from December, the first week of December, when a Dogs fan commented, I just received word that Nick Saban has a $14 million deal with ESPN after the season's end to join College Game Day. A Dogs fan on a Reddit post. We're in the weeds today.
Wow.
I guess so. I mean, listen, Saban going to College Game Day is not a surprise, right? Regardless of all the other stuff. But
will he be good, do you think?
I think he'll be fine.
Did you see him when Pollack told him?
His expertise is good. I think it's a good addition, but it's fine. It's a good way to stay in the game. It's not surprising. I don't buy that. I don't buy any of the conspiracy theories.
Of course you don't.
I don't. But I'm not a Georgia Bulldog fan. I'm not necessarily a Florida State fan. I just think it comes down to, did you want the one who deserved or earned their way in, or did you want the best team? I thought Georgia was the best team in the country, even though they had lost to Alabama. So there's a lot of fandom at place here that I don't subscribe to. I think the bigger question is, does ESPN have too much power over the game of college football? I think that's a reasonable grievance, a reasonable idea of, have they developed too much of a say, too much pull? And they're really now Fox is trying to do that a little bit too and catch up. But ESPN is still kind of runs college football.
No, without a doubt. I mean, they're a king and everything. And, yeah, regardless of what I think he's going to be on, you know, in terms of that show, in terms of being a snooze fest, the guy is one of the best college football coaches of all time, right? So, like, you get a big name like that. Like, sorry, Urban Meyer. Like, yeah, you're polarizing, but you ain't Nick Saban going to College Game Day.
Yeah, I think it will be pretty big. The one other thing about the Herbstreit stuff doesn't bother me that much. It really doesn't. Because I bet Herbstreit gets asked all the time about what he thinks. He knows these programs. He's been on the campuses. I bet that happens all the time. It happened in this. Like, what does he have against Georgia? I know Florida State fans think he's got something against. It's all about David
personal.
Pollack. I hate to tell you, Pollack was fantastic, but Pollack is not like one of the greatest guys of all time in college football in terms of players.
man.
He might be a Georgia legend.
I mean, yeah, relax, Sammy. It wasn't like,
let's
come
settle
on.
down on David
Hey,
Pollack.
look, I mean,
Yeah,
I
try
never
to
said
put
he
him
was
in
a
Lee
college
Corso
great. I didn't
status.
say he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I said he was it was a Georgia great.
He was decent.
And the GOAT of Georgia sports media. All right, so
I'm just
I'm
mind
not
blown
making any
over
false
Dominique
claims
Raiola
here.
made an appearance on this show. Like, that's so real quick. He's the only player I've ever shared a locker room with where there was one. So every team's got managers, right? About 10 managers, maybe more. One manager's only responsibility was to make sure that Dominique Raiola's speakers were at every single game. So he had to travel with Dominique's speakers because, like, his speakers, Brent, I kid you not, were like 6'6". Like, they were huge, huge speakers. So he'd have them in the locker room, and then he'd be blasting like Slipknot or Metallica and stuff. And then before every single game, which I made a mistake, he always throws up before every single game. Like in like the tunnel, it's like a tradition he does. Well, who was standing right next to Dominique Raiola the first game in Detroit? Well, he's getting ready to puke and nobody told me. I was.
I did not know we had this connection.
Yeah, man.
To Dylan
Yeah.
Raiola's dad.
Yeah, I had no idea either. I didn't know he had a son. I mean, I knew who Dylan Raiola was. I didn't put the connection together.
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
What a way to end the show here on a Thursday. We'll put a bow on our first week coming up tomorrow, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. I guess Hamby wants to get us off the show right now. I mean, he just turns us off.
You guys
can
gonna
I at
disrespect
least
David
get to the
Pollock?
goodbye?
You can disrespect David Pollock, I'll show you.
Easy, guys.
Really taught us a lesson. He's fourth in the depth chart in College Game Day. It's not a big deal.
Hey, we'll see you on CBS 47, Fox 30 tonight. I'll have the call of the UNF North Alabama game on ESPN Plus, and maybe stop by UNF Arena to see some good basketball. The Ospreys are playing really well. Jacksonville University is home tonight at Swisher Gymnasium as well. So some college hoops tonight on the horizon, and we'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. The Brent and Austen Show.